Chapter 2675 Third Level of the Void God Realm Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M Dongfang Hao, Virtual God Ranking. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The moment he saw Dongfang Hao, he felt a sense of danger, as if he was being stared at by a terrifying wild beast. An expert. Lu Ming immediately knew that this was an extremely terrifying expert. You are Lu Ming? You even dare to kill my floating light faction's people, you're very bold. Dongfang Hao glared at Lu Ming coldly, his cold killing intent enveloping Lu Ming completely. I'm indeed quite bold. Lu Ming responded. Is that so? Since you're so bold, I'll issue you a life and death duel now. Do you dare to accept it? A gilded invitation appeared in Dongfang Hao's hand. With a wave of his hand, the invitation flew toward Lu Ming like lightning. Lu Ming stretched out his hand to receive it. He felt a strong surge of energy surging towards him. His body swayed slightly and he dispelled this energy. He then received the invitation card steadily in his hand. Lu Ming took a glance and saw that on the post, there were 5 big words, a life and death duel. There were the signatures of 2 outer sect elders, as well as Dongfang Hao's signature and fingerprint. As long as Lu Ming stamped his thumbprint on it, he would have agreed to the life and death duel. What? Dongfang Hao actually issued a death duel invitation to Lu Ming? I didn't hear wrong, did I? You didn't hear wrong. That's it. It can't be. Dongfang Hao is a person on the virtual god ranking list. Lu Ming has just entered the sect not long ago. Dongfang Hao's words caused a commotion among the outer disciples. An expert on the virtual god ranking list actually issued a life and death duel invitation to a disciple who had just entered the sect. This was rare in history. Hee, you're really shameless. 9th level ethereal god realm and you dare to challenge a disciple who just entered the sect. Lu Ming sneered and mocked. Cut the C-R-P, weren't you very bold just now? Now you're a coward? If you don't have the guts to accept it, then get out of the sect. Dongfang Hao berated. Many people looked at him with disdain. Dongfang Hao was an expert on the virtual god ranking list. Wasn't it normal for him to not dare to accept the challenge? However, no one dared to speak up. Lu Ming looked at the life and death duel letter in his hands and seemed to be in deep thought. Did you hear that? If you don't dare to answer, get out of the sect. My Kong Xian's sect will not keep such a cowardly person. Dongfang Hao continued to berate him shamelessly. Don't make a fuss here. I'll sign this life and death duel agreement. Suddenly, Lu Ming's voice was heard. Then, a drop of blood seeped out of his finger and he imprinted his handprint on the mountain of books. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. He signed it. Lu Ming actually signed it. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect that Lu Ming would really dare to sign the life and death contract. Dongfang Hao himself was stunned. He had never thought that Lu Ming would sign the life and death duel agreement. His original intention was to force Lu Ming to leave the sect and then Huang Wen would send people to kill Lu Ming. Kid, there's a time limit to the life and death duel. It must be carried out within 3 years. Otherwise, you'll be expelled from the sect. Do you understand? Dongfang Hao said coldly. 3 years? There's no need for 3 years. Well, meet on the life and death battle stage 1 year later. Lu Ming said. 1 year, alright, 1 year later then. Dongfang Hao then added a year to the life and death duel. A year later, if Lu Ming did not dare to accept the challenge, he would be expelled from the Kong Xian sect. After writing down the date, Dongfang Hao cast a cold glance at Lu Ming and soared into the sky, leaving the place. Lu Ming actually signed it. He doesn't want to live anymore. I think he's deliberately stalling for time. By time? What could he do in a year? He won't be able to catch up to Dongfang Hao in a year. Could it be that he wants to take this opportunity to leave the Kong Xian sect? It's possible. Although he has left the Kong Xian sect, at least he's still alive. It's better than being killed by Dongfang Hao. Many people discussed and felt that Lu Ming was deliberately stalling for time. In the Yellow Martial Palace. What? That kid actually signed it. Huang Wen, Huang Wu, and the others were also surprised when they heard the news. They initially thought that Lu Ming would definitely not sign it. Huang Wen's purpose was to force Lu Ming to leave. Once Lu Ming signed it, his plan was disrupted. This kid is definitely stalling for time and then taking the opportunity to sneak away, Huang Wu said. The others nodded and agreed with Lu Ming's plan. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation base, there was a 10,000% chance that he would not be a match for Dongfang Hao in a year's time. What a good plan. However, since Zhen has left, he can forget about coming back in the future, Huang Wen said coldly. If he left, he would be expelled from the sect. 1 year later, let's wait and see. If he doesn't leave, well, kill him, Huang Wen said. He then left the place and returned to the inner sect. A year was too short for a martial god. They did not think that Lu Ming would be able to cause any trouble within a year. The news that Lu Ming had signed the life and death duel agreement with Dongfang Hao spread among the outer sect disciples rapidly, causing a huge commotion. Some people thought that Lu Ming was courting death, but more people thought that he was stalling for time and wanted to take the opportunity to escape. In fact, some of them were secretly staring at Lu Ming to see if he was going to slip away. Lu Ming could not be bothered with all this. He returned to his room and continued cultivating. After a few days, Lu Ming opened his eyes. I can continue to break through, Lu Ming muttered. After a few months of tempering and polishing, his foundation was already very solid, and he could continue to attack new realms. He still had many wood crystals in his hands, but he had not refined them yet. He took out a wood crystal, swallowed it, and began to cultivate. And NBSP he trained in sovereign divine power, and each breakthrough required an astonishing amount of resources. However, the wood crystals that Lu Ming had obtained in the abyss and the ones he had obtained after killing the plant life forms were not used. They were enough for him to break through. The wood crystals were quickly refined. Lu Ming's cultivation level was also rising rapidly and he was approaching the 3rd level of the Void God realm. Half a month later, when Lu Ming refined the last wood crystal, his cultivation had successfully broken through to the 3rd level of the Void God realm. 3rd level Void God realm isn't enough to deal with Dongfang Hao, Lu Ming muttered. When he was at the 2nd level of the Virtual God realm, Lu Ming could easily defeat powerhouses at the 7th level of the Virtual God realm, such as the young man in luxurious clothes and the others. At that time, his battle power was equivalent to an 8th level Void God realm prodigy who controlled king-grade divine power. Now that his cultivation had broken through to the 3rd level of the Void God realm, theoretically, he could fight a 9th level Void God realm expert if he went all out. However, Lu Ming knew that he would most likely not be a match for a 9th level Void God level powerhouse. This was because 9th level Void God realm experts could already practice and use divine skills. There was a huge gap between them and 8th level Void God realm experts. Once a divine skill was used, one's battle prowess would be astonishing. Moreover, Dongfang Hao was on the Virtual God ranking. His abilities must be even more terrifying. Lu Ming would most likely be no match for him now. Even if he activated the battle character formula to double his combat strength, he would not be a match for him. Lu Ming still needed to make more breakthroughs before he could fight Dongfang Hao. Chapter 2676 Sect Master of Kong Xian Sect Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. Everyone thought that Lu Ming was trying to stall for time and take the opportunity to escape. However, Lu Ming did not have such plans at all. The reason why he gave him a year's time was to force himself to improve quickly. He wanted to reach the God King realm in the shortest time possible. Continue. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate and comprehend the battle character formula. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed, said. In the core area of the Kong Xian sect, a figure was waiting in front of a secret chamber. If Lu Ming was here, he would definitely recognize this figure. He was the outer sect elder who had brought them to Kong Xian's sect during the A.S. assessment for the recruitment of disciples, Huaquan. Kacha. The door of the secret room opened, and an old man with white hair and a white beard walked out. The old man's eyes seemed to be filled with wisdom. Huaquan pays his respects to the sect master. Huaquan immediately saluted respectfully. This old man was the sect leader of the Kong Xian sect, Dragon Boat Mountain. Huaquan, why are you looking for this lord? Dragon Boat Mountain said. Because of the new disciples, sect master was in closed-door cultivation before, so I didn't come to disturb you. I heard that sect master is about to come out of closed-door cultivation, so I came to report. Huaquan said. A new disciple? You can just arrange this matter, why do you need to report to me? Dragon Boat Mountain said indifferently, a hint of displeasure on his face. Sect leader, it's different this time. There's a little guy inside. I suspect that the divine power he controls is divine-grade divine power. Huaquan immediately bowed and said. What? Dragon Boat Mountain's eyes widened as a terrifying aura burst out from his body. This aura was as vast as the universe. Even with Huaquan's heavenly god realm cultivation base, he was still suppressed by this aura. His body trembled violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the aura of the Dragon Boat Mountain was immediately retracted. However, his eyes still revealed deep shock. Divine-grade divine power. Is what you said true? Dragon Boat Mountain asked as he stared at Huaquan. This subordinate is not very sure. During the disciple recruitment test, I observed his moves many times, but that little fellow cultivates a special secret technique that can conceal his divine power aura very well. I am only suspicious, but I am not 100% sure. Huaquan said. Bring him here, I want to examine him personally. Dragon Boat Mountain said. Yes. Huaquan bowed and took his leave. Divine-grade divine power, divine-grade divine power. Dragon Boat Mountain muttered. His eyes flickered with a fiery light that was mixed with a hint of ferocity. Someone's coming again. Lu Ming was cultivating. Sensing that there were people outside, he ended his cultivation and walked out. Elder Huaquan. At the sight of Huaquan, Lu Ming was slightly stunned and somewhat surprised. Ever since he came to the outer sect of Kong Xian's sect, Lu Ming had not seen Huaquan. Now, Huaquan suddenly came to look for him. What was the matter? Could it be about the battle with Dongfang Hao? Lu Ming made a guess. Lu Ming greets Elder Hua. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Lu Ming, come with me. The sect master wants to see you. Huaquan smiled and sized Lu Ming up. There was a hint of shock in his eyes. He remembered very clearly that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the demigod realm during the 13 clans A.S. assessment. Now, he had actually reached the third level of the void god realm. It had only been a few years, and such a cultivation speed was simply too shocking. Lu Ming himself was stunned. The sect master wanted to see him? He was only an outer sect disciple who had just entered the sect. Why would the sect master of Kong Xian's sect want to see him all of a sudden? Follow me. Huaquan suppressed the shock in his heart, turned around, and flew away. Lu Ming could only suppress the doubts in his heart and follow Huaquan. The outer sect of the Kong Xian sect was located on a huge mountain range. One would reach the inner sect area if they went deep into the mountain range. This was not a single mountain range, but rather, several. They were like enormous dragons that were intertwining with each other. The divine qi here was extremely dense, and the cultivation conditions here were even better than the outer sect. Lu Ming followed Huaquan and flew into the inner sect area. Not long after, they arrived at a mountain peak. There was a grand hall on the mountain peak. Lu Ming followed Huaquan into the main hall and saw an old man with white hair and a beard. The old man had a smile on his face, but he exuded a sense of majesty that made people not dare to look at him directly. Subordinate greets sect master. Huo Quan bowed respectfully. Disciple Lu Ming greets the sect master. Lu Ming followed suit and bowed. Huo Quan, you may leave. Dragon Boat Mountain waved his hand. Huo Quan left respectfully, leaving only Lu Ming and the Dragon Boat Mountain in the hall. The Dragon Boat Mountain's eyes flickered with a strange light as it sized Lu Ming up. For some reason, Lu Ming felt Guseb. MPS all over his body when the Dragon Boat Mountain's gaze swept over him. It was as if he was being stared at by an extremely terrifying venomous snake. All of a sudden, a radiance emanated from Dragon Boat's body. Rays of blood-red divine power condensed into venomous snakes that pounced toward Lu Ming. They were filled with terrifying killing intent. Lu Ming was shocked. He had never expected that the sect master of Kong Xian's sect would try to kill him. He had never met him or offended him, so why would he do this? Even though he knew that there was a huge difference between his cultivation and his opponents, Lu Ming would not give up without a fight. He retreated quickly. However, as soon as Lu Ming retreated, the SPCE behind him seemed to have solidified and completely blocked his retreat. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. A few venomous snakes wrapped themselves around Lu Ming. They were formed from the divine power of the dragon boat. They were astonishingly powerful. The terrifying power rushed into Lu Ming's body, and he felt a tearing pain. Break! Lu Ming roared. And NBSP at this moment, he had no time to hide. He unleashed all of his sovereign divine power, violet gold in color, as he charged at the venomous snakes. At the same time, a red gold armor appeared on Lu Ming's body. This was the divine skill, 9-stage crimson gold armor. When it was used, it was as if a suit of armor had covered the body. Divine grade divine power, it really is divine grade divine power, and it's even a ruler's divine power. The dragon boat's eyes burned with Shaun as they looked at the divine energy circulating around Lu Ming's body. With a wave of their hands, the venomous snakes that were coiling around Lu Ming's body disappeared without a trace. Lu Ming felt his entire body relax. He could not help but gasp for air, a layer of cold sweat breaking out on his body. Sect Master, what is the meaning of this? Lu Ming looked at Dragon Boat Mountain with a gloomy expression. No one would be in a good mood if she tried to kill him the moment they met. Not bad, not bad. You have indeed mastered divine grade divine power. Dragon Boat Mountain's face was filled with joy as he repeatedly nodded his head. He was extremely excited. Lu Ming frowned. The other party was only trying to test if he had mastered the divine grade divine energy. Your name is Lu Ming, right? In the future, I will nurture you well and let you grow up as soon as possible. Dragon Boat Mountain said. Thank you, sect leader. Lu Ming said. Chapter 2677 Dark Dragon Blood Curse Lease reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M, however, I have a condition. Dragon Boat Mountain's tone suddenly changed as he said, I will nurture you well, but you have to swear on your life source that you will listen to my every word in the future. You will do whatever I tell you to do, understand? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly narrowed and his face darkened. The meaning behind Dragon Boat Mountain's words was clear. They would nurture Lu Ming in the future. However, Lu Ming had to listen to their every word. This was no different from becoming a tool for Dragon Boat Mountain. The other party wanted to use him as a knife to achieve some kind of goal. How could Lu Ming agree? Sect Master, I swear on my life source that there's no need to do so. You're the Sect Master. If there's anything that you need Lu Ming's help with in the future, he'll definitely do his best. Lu Ming said. Are you rejecting me? Dragon Boat Mountain's expression turned cold, and a dangerous light flickered in his eyes. I swear on my life source. Please forgive Lu Ming for not being able to agree to this. Lu Ming said with a determined expression. Once he swore on his life source, Lu Ming would at the very least become the dragon boat's puppet in the future. He would not be able to act on his own. Unable to agree? Today, you have to agree even if you don't want to. If you can't be used by me, I'd rather destroy you. The dragon boat mountain's expression turned even gloomier, and his tone was frosty. A wave of terrifying killing intent enveloped Lu Ming, causing him to shiver. Lu Ming did not expect the sect leader of the Kongxian sect to be so despicable. Once they knew that he could control divine-grade divine power, they wanted to control him. As the master of a sect, he actually threatened his disciples like this. If this were to spread out, I don't know how many people would be bitterly disappointed. Lu Ming suppressed the anger in his heart. Are you threatening me? Dragon Boat Mountain said coldly. I'm telling the truth. If you want to kill me today, just do it. You want me to swear? Dream on. Lu Ming confronted him without any fear. Although he didn't want to die, he would rather die than be the other party's puppet. He, you have a backbone and aren't afraid of death. But do you think it's useful to be unafraid of death? You think I can't deal with you if you don't swear? How naive. I'll plant the dark dragon blood curse on you and make you wish you were dead. The dragon boat mountain roared and grabbed at the air. Lu Ming felt a powerful force grabbing at him. He could not resist at all and was caught in the dragon boat's hands. Then, the fingers on the dragon boat pointed out continuously. One after another, terrifying rune arcs slithered into Lu Ming's body like blood-red vipers. Roar! Lu Ming let out a beast-like roar because it was too painful. At this moment, Lu Ming's body felt as if it was being bitten by countless small snakes. It was extremely uncomfortable and painful. Enjoy my dark dragon blood curse. The dragon boats sneered continuously. They waved their fingers faster and faster, and more blood-red runes burrowed into Lu Ming's body, intertwining to form a terrifying array. Old man, you old man who won't die, you are despicable and shameless. Lu Ming cursed in pain. Curse all you want, they'll let you curse all you want. Dragon Boat Mountain sneered. You old fart, how dare you call yourself the leader of a sect? You're shameless, perverted, and utterly devoid of conscience. Your son doesn't have an A.N.U.S., you're impotent at night. By Tianyang, fuck. Lu Ming's mouth did not stop. He was shooting like a machine gun. After hanging out with Dandan for so long, it was not for nothing. Even though Dragon Boat Mountain's will was firm, he was scolded to the point that his eyelids kept twitching. After a short while, the Dragon Boat Mountain finally stopped moving. The dark dragon blood curse had already been laid down. Lu Ming's body emitted a piercing red light. It was like countless small snakes that wrapped around his body, causing him to suffer endless pain. This pain was worse than being cut into pieces. In the end, Lu Ming did not even have the strength to curse. He fell to the ground and panted heavily. Now you know how powerful I am. The dragon boat sneered. With a wave of their hands, the runes on Lu Ming's body, which were like vipers, disappeared. The pain on Lu Ming's body also disappeared. Lu Ming looked into his body and realized that the runes that were like poisonous snakes had disappeared without a trace. He could not detect them at all. The dark dragon blood curse has been hidden deep in your body. As long as I think about it, you will be in extreme pain and even die instantly. Now, your life and death are completely in my hands. Do you understand? Dragon Boat Mountain said coldly. You're really despicable. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He planned to calm the old man down first, then think of a way to get rid of the dark dragon blood curse in his body. There's no rush. Your cultivation is still too weak now. When your cultivation improves, it'll naturally need you. Remember, you'd better be obedient. Otherwise, it'll make you disappear completely. Dragon Boat Mountain said coldly. He then took out a golden token and threw it to Lu Ming. This is a gold token, the highest quality token in the Kongxian sect. With this token, other than some restricted areas, you can enter anywhere you want in the Kongxian sect. You can also enter some cultivation sacred grounds. Cultivate well. With that, the Dragon Boat Mountain waved its hand and Lu Ming was pushed out by a force. It. Lu Ming's expression was extremely cold. The other party naturally did not have good intentions when they gave him the gold token. They only hoped that he would improve as soon as possible and be of use to him in the future. Lu Ming lowered his head and pondered for a moment. He kept the gold token and walked out. Not long after, he saw Huoquan. Lu Ming, how is it? What did the sect master say to you? With a talent like yours, the sect master will probably put in a lot of effort to cultivate you. Huoquan said with a smile. His smile was very clean, as if he didn't know anything. This Huoquan, doesn't he know how despicable the Dragon Boat Mountain is? Lu Ming was puzzled. He nodded casually and said, "It's all right. I'll send you back," Huoquan said. He then brought Lu Ming out of the inner sect area and returned to the outer sect area. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming immediately went into seclusion. He circulated the universe thousand Tao art with all his might. The Dominator's divine power seeped into every part of his body and swam through every inch of his muscles, bones, and even his internal organs. He wanted to find the Dark Dragon blood curse and destroy it. However, after using his ruler's divine power to make a full circle, he found nothing. That old man, since he knows that I have control over the ruler's divine power, he definitely knows that I can't destroy the Dark Dragon blood curse with the ruler's divine power. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. He had not expected the sect leader of the Kongxian sect to be such a despicable, cunning, and shameless person. For now, I can only play along and calm the other party down. I'll find a way to break the Dark Dragon blood curse in the future. I, Lu Ming, will remember this grudge today. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. He had been through countless storms and waves on his way here. He didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to overcome this obstacle. Lu Ming then took out the gold token. Since you want to cultivate me well, then I'll borrow your strength to improve my strength first. Lu Ming pondered. Then, he left the outer gate area and headed toward the inner gate. There were many cultivation sanctuaries in the inner sect. With this golden token, Lu Ming could use those cultivation sanctuaries to cultivate and improve his strength. Chapter 2678 Inner Sect Area Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. Lu Ming went to the inner sect area again, but he was blocked at an entrance. Stop. Two burly men in black appeared in front of Lu Ming, blocking his way. These two black-robed men's auras were as thick as mountains. With a single glance, one could tell that they were terrifying experts. Two seniors, I want to go in. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. You're going in? Little fellow, hurry up and leave. Outer disciples are not allowed to enter unless there are special circumstances. A burly man in black casually waved his hand and revealed a look of contempt. They could tell at a glance that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at third-level void god realm. With such a cultivation, even in the outer sect, he would be at the bottom. How dare he enter the inner sect? Lu Ming's expression was calm. He knew that this would happen. The last time he came here, he was not stopped because he was with Huoquan. This time, he was alone. It was normal for him to be stopped. Seniors, this is my token. Lu Ming took out the gold token. Token? What token? The two men in black casually glanced over, and their eyes instantly widened. Huang. Gold token. The two of them were tongue-tied and almost bit their own tongues. They had never expected that Lu Ming would have a gold token. In the Kongxian sect, there were very few people who had a gold token. Apart from a few holy sons and holy virgins, only a few people had golden tokens, but they all had ident. Ties. However, Lu Ming was merely a third-level void god. They had never seen him before. How could he have a gold token? Could it be this kid is a disciple secretly taken in by some big shot? The two black-robed men thought to themselves, and their faces immediately revealed a respectful expression. So it turns out that little brother has a gold token, then you can naturally enter. Please come in. The two of them immediately changed their expressions, nodding and bowing, trying to please him. Many thanks. Lu Ming smiled and was about to step in. Wait a moment. At this moment, a delicate shout came from behind. There was a flash of light and a young and beautiful girl appeared beside Lu Ming. The young lady's skin was like jade, and her facial features were exquisite. She was a rare beauty. She blinked her big eyes and sized Lu Ming up curiously. Who are you? I've never seen it before. Where did you get the gold token? Miss, I don't think I need to tell you where I got the gold token. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You won't tell me? You just don't dare to tell me, right? Tell me, did you steal your gold token? The young girl widened her eyes, as if she wanted to see through Lu Ming. Lu Ming was speechless. Miss, the people who have the gold tokens all have high cultivation levels. Moreover, they're all hidden in their storage rings. Where am I supposed to go to steal them? That's true. The young girl was stunned and pouted. Miss, I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Having said that, Lu Ming walked toward the entrance. Hey, wait for me. You still haven't told me where you got your gold token from. The young girl shouted and followed Lu Ming. The two men in black seemed to be very familiar with the girl. They ignored her and allowed her to enter. This girl's ident. Tai isn't simple. She's only at the Void God realm, but she didn't stop him. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He could sense that the girl's cultivation base hadn't reached the true God realm yet. She should still be at the ethereal God realm. Those at the Void Spirit realm were considered to be in the outer sect, so they shouldn't be able to enter the inner sect. Of course, this was with the exception of some special people, such as the disciples or descendants of some great figure. Hey, you still haven't told me where the gold token came from? Tell me, just tell me. The young girl followed Lu Ming closely and muttered to herself. Lu Ming was speechless. He could tell that the young girl had no ill intentions towards him, and was just purely curious. Miss, I'll tell you the truth. This gold token was given to me by the sect master. Lu Ming said helplessly. Did the sect master give it to you? The young girl blinked her big eyes and became even more curious. Why did the sect master give you a gold token? What's your relationship with the sect master? Could it be that you're the sect master's private disciple? Or, are you the sect master's illegitimate child? Pfft. Lu Ming almost spat out a mouthful of blood 3 feet away. What was this little girl thinking? The hole in his brain was too big. Don't make wild guesses. It's not what you think. Lu Ming said. If it's not what I'm thinking, then what is it? The young girl asked again. Lu Ming was powerless. He could not be bothered with the young girl and strode forward. However, the young girl was like a shadow, following Lu Ming closely. She seemed to be determined not to give up until she figured out what was going on. Lu Ming could not be bothered with the other party. He buried his head in his journey. Hey, Imu Linglong, what's your name? Hey, where are you going? Hey, that's where the inner sect disciples go to the toilet. What are you doing there? Lu Ming stopped in his tracks, his face turning red. This is my first time in the inner sect. Lu Ming explained awkwardly. It's your first time here. If you want to find a place, I can lead the way. The young lady smiled. I want to find a place to cultivate. It's best if it's the kind of place that can quickly improve cultivation. Lu Ming said. The Divine Pulse Tower is the best place for cultivation. The divine qi in the Divine Pulse Tower is extremely dense. It even contains a trace of the power of the Divine Pulse, which can help people improve their cultivation quickly. The young girl said. Divine Pulse Tower? How do we get there? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Hey, you still haven't told me your name. The young girl widened her eyes. My name is Lu Ming. Lu Ming coughed drily and explained. Lu Ming? What an uncouth name. The young girl pouted while Lu Ming's face darkened. Let's go. I'll take you to the Divine Pulse Tower. But I'll tell you that you'll have to spend points to cultivate in the Divine Pulse Tower. The young girl said. Points? What points? Lu Ming was stunned. You don't even know the points? The young lady rolled her eyes and had a look of disdain on her face. Lu Ming's face turned even darker. He realized that he had been despised by the young lady many times in just a short while. Points. Of course, it's sect points. You can obtain points by completing missions A.S. signed by the sect. The points are very useful in the sect. You can enter a cultivation place to cultivate, and you can even exchange them for divine artifacts, various divine skills, divine techniques, and secret skills. The young girl explained. Lu Ming understood now. The Kongxian sect's so-called points were like the contribution points in other places. Lu Ming started to have a headache. He did not have any points at all. It seemed that he could not go. You don't have points, do you? How about this? Do you have divine crystals? You can exchange divine crystals for points, but it's not worth it. 10,000 divine crystals can only be exchanged for 1 point. Cultivating in the Divine Pulse Tower will cost 1 point a day. The young girl said. Lu Ming gasped in shock. This was too expensive. It cost 1 point a day to cultivate in the Divine Pulse Tower, which was equivalent to 10,000 divine crystals. It was extremely shocking. It's a pity that I don't have many points left. Otherwise, I could sell some to you at a lower price. The young girl muttered. Chapter 2679 Cultivation Base Broken Again Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M I do have some divine artifacts on me. Where can I sell divine artifacts here? I'll sell them and exchange them for some points. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. In the end, he decided to go to the Divine Pulse Tower to cultivate. No matter how many divine crystals he had, it was useless to keep them. The only way was to convert them into power. And NBSP he still had some middle-quality divine artifacts on hand that he could sell. Let's go, I'll take you there. The young lady led the way, followed by Lu Ming. Not long after, they arrived at a bustling place. This place was the place in the inner sect area where people exchanged and sold all kinds of treasures. At the moment, Lu Ming still had 11 middle-grade divine artifacts. Lu Ming planned to sell 6 of them and keep 5. The price of a middle-grade divine artifact was naturally not something that a low-grade divine artifact could compare to. A good level 9 low-grade god artifact could be sold for 100,000 god crystals. As for a middle-grade god artifact, even the lowest level 1 middle-grade god artifact could be sold for several 100,000. Lu Ming sold 6 items. Among them, there were 3 level 1 middle-grade divine artifacts, 2 level 2 middle-grade divine artifacts, and 1 level 3 middle-grade divine artifact. After selling it, he got a total of 3.6 million god crystals. The young girl widened her eyes in shock. She did not expect Lu Ming to be so rich. After that, Lu Ming bought a huge pile of divine artifact fragments. They were all fragments of divine artifacts of level 7 low-grade and above. There were fragments of level 7 low-grade to level 9 low-grade divine artifacts. Lu Ming spent 200,000 divine crystals on the huge pile. These divine artifact fragments were enough for Qiuqiu to eat for a period of time. After that, Lu Ming followed Yu Linglong to the Points Redemption main hall. He used 1.6 million points to redeem 160 points. Let's go and cultivate. With a large number of points, Lu Ming was full of pride. He waved his hand and walked towards the Divine Pulse Tower with Yu Linglong. Is this the Divine Pulse Tower? It looks ordinary. Soon, they arrived at the foot of a giant tower. The tower looked very ancient, but it didn't give off any aura, as if it were just made of some random giant stones. Let's go. The effect of cultivation on each floor of the Divine Pulse Tower is almost the same. It's 1 point a day. Yu Linglong said and walked toward the Divine Pulse Tower. Someone was guarding the Divine Pulse Tower. Take out your ident. Tie tokens and register. An old man at the foot of the Divine Pulse Tower said. Lu Ming and Yu Linglong took out their ident. Tie tokens and handed them to the old man. The points were all recorded in their ident. Tie tokens. The old man placed their ident. Tie tokens on a disk array. The disk array flashed a few times and returned the ident. Tie tokens to the two. Go in. Remember, 1 point will be consumed for 1 day of cultivation in the Divine Pulse Tower. When the points in your ident tie tokens are used up, the formation of the Divine Pulse Tower will throw you out, but you'll be Imbara. Said. So, you'd better get out of the Divine Pulse Tower before your points are used up. The old man warned. The two of them nodded and walked into the Divine Pulse Tower. There were secret rooms in the Divine Pulse Tower. All the secret rooms on the first floor were occupied. The two of them went to the second floor. Lo, Lu Ming. If you have any questions in the future, you can ask me. Here. With that, Yu Linglong said Lu Ming a voice transmission jade talisman and walked into a secret room. Lu Ming smiled and entered a secret room. The door of the secret room closed automatically. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and started cultivating with the Universe Thousand Tao scripture. Hoo. Immediately, the rich divine qi in the surroundings gathered towards Lu Ming. What a dense divine qi! Lu Ming was secretly shocked. The divine qi here was so dense that it was almost tangible. It was many times faster than absorbing divine crystals. It even contained a trace of strange energy. Once it entered Lu Ming's body, it was quickly transformed into Lu Ming's divine power and could even help to temper his divine body. So fast. The cultivation speed here is many times faster than outside. 10,000 divine crystals. It's worth it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Before, he had been worried about the divine crystals. 10,000 divine crystals could only help him cultivate for a day. But now, he felt that it was worth it. Although it was very expensive, he would definitely be able to break through quickly and break through his cultivation. However, before he focused on cultivation, Lu Ming took out a pile of divine artifact fragments and put them aside for Qiu to eat slowly. As for him, he began to focus on cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed, said. Lu Ming's cultivation had skyrocketed and he was already at peak 3rd level virtual god level, only a step away from 4th level virtual god level. One had to know that it was not easy to break through to the void god realm. Many people would need hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years to do so. He, on the other hand, had only used 3 months to reach the 4th level of the void god realm. This was all because of the Divine Pulse Tower. Begin the salt. Lu Ming had an idea and the divine energy in his body quickly circulated. Boom. 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 His body seemed to be rumbling as he started to break through to the 4th level of the void god realm. Not long after, his aura skyrocketed, and it was much stronger than before. 4th level void god realm, breakthrough. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. Now that he had broken through to the 4th level of the void god realm, Lu Ming was even more confident in his battle with Dongfang Hao. It's worth it to break through to the 4th level of the void god realm in 3 months. Lu Ming smiled. Although he didn't need 900,000 divine crystals to break through to the 4th level of the void god realm, it would take dozens or even hundreds of times longer. In the Divine Pulse Tower, he had broken through in 3 months, which was equivalent to spending a large number of divine crystals to buy time. What Lu Ming lacked the most now was time. It was all worth it. He could earn more divine crystals once his cultivation increased. In less than a year, my cultivation has increased by 2 levels. I need to stop and polish it. I can use the rest of my time to cultivate my divine skills. Although Lu Ming was now more confident in his fight against Dongfang Hao, he could not afford to miss out on the 9-fold golden armor and the 3 apocalyptic strikes if he wanted to be 100% confident. If these 2 divine skills had a breakthrough, he would be more confident. Lu Ming immediately left the Divine Pulse Tower. Senior, may I ask if there's a place to cultivate a divine skill in the inner sect? When he arrived outside the Divine Pulse Tower, Lu Ming asked the elder who was guarding the Divine Pulse Tower. There are some places that ordinary disciples are forbidden from entering. The old man glanced at Lu Ming and said indifferently. Senior, this is my token. Lu Ming took out the gold token again. A gold token. The old man's eyes suddenly widened. He sized Lu Ming up carefully in surprise. He obviously did not expect that Lu Ming, a virtual god-level disciple, would have a gold token. With the gold token, you can go to most of the places in the inner sect area. The best place to cultivate a divine skill is, of course, the Divine Skill Valley. I have a map of the inner sect area here, you can use it. The old man took out a map and said it to Lu Ming. The reason why he was so nice to Lu Ming was naturally because he guessed that Lu Ming was the disciple of some big shot and he wanted to befriend and build a good relationship with Lu Ming. Chapter 2680 Placing a Bet Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming took the map and scanned it with his spiritual senses. A map appeared in his mind. It was a map of the entire inner sect area. The addresses, buildings, and cultivation places were all clearly marked on it. This gold token is quite useful. Lu Ming pondered. Although he had been cursed by the Dragon Boat Mountain with the Dark Dragon Blood Curse, at least it was not without any benefits. At the very least, the golden token was still very useful to him. Without the gold token, he would not be able to enter the inner sect area, let alone these cultivation places. It would be difficult for him to make a breakthrough in his cultivation in a short period of time. Following the map, Lu Ming walked towards the Divine Skill Valley. The Divine Skill Valley was the best place to cultivate divine skills in the inner gate area. Of course, it also required points, but it was slightly cheaper, 1 point for 5 days of cultivation. Lu Ming's ident. Tai token still had 70 points. It was enough for him to cultivate for 350 days. Lu Ming entered the Divine Skill Valley and devoted himself to cultivation. Time flew by and it was getting closer to the 1-year agreement between Lu Ming and Dongfang Hao. In the blink of an eye, there were only 3 days left. During this period of time, the outer door was bustling with noise and excitement. Many people were discussing Lu Ming. A year's time might not be a short time for ordinary people and they could forget many things. However, for people at the martial god realm, a year's time was no different from a breath's time. The life and death battle between Lu Ming and Dongfang Hao was still fresh in their minds. Why hasn't Lu Ming appeared yet? I saw him go out earlier. Did he really slip away? That must be it. I told you that he's just asking for death by agreeing to Dongfang Hao's life and death duel. He's definitely going to run away. I heard that he's the first place in the disciple recruitment assessment this time. I didn't know he had no BALLS. It would be a wonder if you have the guts to know that you're going to die. In the outer sect area, everyone was talking about Lu Ming. They all thought that Lu Ming had slipped away and did not dare to accept the challenge. At this moment, Lu Ming was coming out from the inner gate area. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. He had gained a lot from his cultivation during this period of time. He was very confident in his battle with Dongfang Hao. Soon, he returned to the inner court area. Lu Ming is back. Instantly, this piece of news caused an uproar in the outer gate area. The people who were certain that Lu Ming had slipped away earlier were dumbfounded and speechless. You still dare to come back? You're really looking for death. Simply stupid. Lu Ming's return was a slap to these people's faces. These people flew into a rage out of humiliation. They thought that Lu Ming was so foolish that he came back to court death. In short, the news of Lu Ming's return quickly spread to the outer sect. In the Yellow Martial Palace. Good, it's good that he's back, we can kill him now. Huang Wu laughed. Don't worry. This time, I'll make sure he dies a horrible death. On the side, Dong Fanghao's face was ferocious and his killing intent was cold. Come. Place your bets. If you bet on Dong Fanghao, it's 200 to 1. If you bet on Lu Ming, it's 1 to 50. Near the life and death arena, a burly man had actually started a bet on who would win between Lu Ming and Dong Fanghao. 200 to 1? You're too greedy. This ratio is too low. That's right, I bet $200 and only earned $1. Many people looked down on him. If they bet on Lu Ming winning, they would earn 50 divine crystals for each piece. However, if they bet on Dong Fanghao winning, they would only earn 1 divine crystal for each piece of divine crystal. If you don't place your bet, I'll place mine. Lu Ming is definitely going to lose. Although the ratio of 200 to 1 is a little low, it's a sure win. I'll bet 100,000 divine crystals on Dong Fanghao. An outer sect disciple had placed a bet of 100,000 divine gems. Many people's eyes lit up. That's right, Dong Fanghao was definitely going to win. Even though it wasn't a lot, it was still a profit. I'm also betting on Dong Fanghao. I'm betting 50,000 divine gems. I'll bet 200,000 divine crystals on Dong Fanghao. I also bet, there's no doubt about this battle. Dong Fanghao is definitely going to win. A large group of outer sect disciples placed their bets on Dong Fanghao. The man's face was covered in cold sweat. He also thought that Dong Fanghao would win for sure. Almost everyone had bet on Dong Fanghao, so he would lose a lot of money. He had deliberately set the odds on Lu Ming at 150. With such high odds, he initially thought that some people would take the risk and bet on Lu Ming's victory. In that case, he would be able to earn a fortune. Why don't you guys bet on Lu Ming? If you bet on Lu Ming, you'll be betting 1 with 50. The burly man shouted. Do you think I'm stupid? If I bet on Lu Ming, I'll definitely lose. That's right, I'm not giving you money for nothing. Hurry up and write me a receipt. The group of outer sect disciples clamored, and the burly man broke out in cold sweat. It's really lively. Lu Ming had just returned from the inner sect area. When he said by and saw so many people placing their bets, he immediately became interested. Lu Ming is here. Someone called out. Immediately, everyone's eyes turned to Lu Ming. There were those who were pitying him, those who were sighing, and those who were indifferent. Anyway, they looked at Lu Ming as if he was a dead man. In their opinion, Lu Ming would definitely die in 3 days. This bet, how do you place it? What are the odds? Lu Ming's interest was piqued. He walked over and asked. If you bet on Dong Fanghao, the odds are 200 to 1. If you bet on Lu Ming, the odds are 1 to 50. Someone answered. Nest, my odds are so high. There should be a lot of people who bet on me winning. Lu Ming looked at the burly man. No one is betting on you winning. The burly man said with a bitter face. What? Lu Ming was depressed. How much did they look down on him? So many people bet on Dong Fanghao with a 200 for 1 payout, but he bet with a 50 for 1 payout and no one bet on him? Did they all think that he would lose? Everyone, because too many people are betting on Dong Fanghao, now the odds will be changed. The odds for those who are betting on Dong Fanghao will be changed to 500 to 1. The burly man shouted. What? 500 to 1, why don't you just die? If you bet $500, you'll only earn $1. If you bet $50,000, you'll only earn $100. That's too little. It's not good to be so shameless. Many people questioned loudly, but the middle-aged man's attitude was firm. He was determined to win 500 to 1. This business is not bad. Lu Ming's gaze shifted and he had an idea. He thought of a way to earn money. Everyone, please listen to me. Lu Ming clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. If he's not the banker, it'll be the banker. Those who want to place a bet, come to me. If you bet on Dongfang Hao, it's 100 for 1. If you bet on Lu Ming, it's a 1 for 1. Lu Ming said loudly. What? If you bet on Dongfang Haosheng, it's 100 to 1. I'm buying it, I'm buying 100,000 divine crystals. Immediately, someone placed a bet. Many people's eyes were also burning. The burly man had bet on Dongfang Hao's victory at odds of 500 to 1, but Lu Ming's bet was 100 to 1. It was 5 times higher. Everyone naturally chose Lu Ming. Chapter 2681 Inviting the Elders Lease Reading Omicron N Novel Cool. Omicron M. As for the odds of Lu Ming winning, they ignored it. The odds of Lu Ming winning were 150 at the burly man's bet. No one was willing to bet. Now that Lu Ming's bet was 1:1, who would still bet? Wait, well, bet on you. If you're killed by Dongfang Hao, who will we go to for the divine crystals? That's right. When you're killed by Dongfang Hao, all your treasures will be his. Who are we going to get them from? Many people shouted. Indeed, when Lu Ming died in battle, they would not be able to get back the divine crystals they had bet with interest. How about this? I'll find an elder of the tribunal council to be my witness and hand over all the divine crystals. If I die in battle, you can go to the elder to collect the divine crystals. Lu Ming said. Find an elder of the tribunal council as a witness? Who do you think you are? You're able to invite an elder of the tribunal council? You don't even need a draft to brag. Many people looked down on him. The enforcement hall's elders were high and mighty. How could Lu Ming, a new outer sect disciple, be able to invite them? Well, know if I can or not after a while. You guys wait for me here, I'll be right back. With that, Lu Ming rose into the air and headed for the law enforcement hall. There was an enforcement hall in both the inner and outer gates. The law enforcement hall was in charge of law enforcement. It had great power and its words were final. Lu Ming really went to invite the elders of the enforcement hall. Can he really invite them? How is that possible? Do you believe that I can invite the sect master just as he can invite the magic elders? Regardless of whether it's true or not, let's just wait for a while. It won't take much time anyway. The crowd discussed and waited. The news of Lu Ming being the banker and placing bets had spread. More outer sect disciples had gathered in this area. It even attracted some outer sect deacons and elders. Soon, a huge palace appeared in front of Lu Ming. This was the outer law enforcement hall. Stop. At the entrance of the law enforcement hall, 2 young men stopped Lu Ming. I would like to see the enforcement palace's elder. Lu Ming said. You're just a 4th-level ethereal god realm warrior. You want to meet an elder of the tribunal council? What a joke, get lost. A young man waved his hand, his attitude was bad. Lu Ming frowned. He was clear that those who held positions in the tribunal council were not outer sect disciples, but inner sect disciples. They were all at the true god realm or above, otherwise, how could they suppress so many outer sect disciples? It was normal for these people to look down on him. The 2 of you, you can just go and report. Lu Ming said, neither servile nor overbearing. Report? Who do you think you are? On what basis do you want us to report? It was still the same young man who sneered coldly. The people of the enforcement hall had great power. Most of the outer sect disciples were trembling with fear when they saw them. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm when he saw them. This made them a little unhappy. "With this, is it okay?" Lu Ming said coldly and took out the gold token. "Why is it useless?" "What? Yellow gold token?" The young man was arrogant at first, but when he saw the golden token, he almost bit his tongue and his eyes almost popped out. "Now, go and pass the message," Lu Ming said with a sullen face. Yes. I failed to recognize Mount Tai just now. This young master, I hope that a great man like you will not hold a grudge against me and not lower yourself to my level." The young man who berated Lu Ming earlier broke out in a cold sweat. He bowed his head in fear and trepidation. He knew very well that whoever had a golden token was definitely someone with a great background. He couldn't afford to offend them. He wished that he could slap himself. He hated himself for having a cheap mouth just now. He did not know how Lu Ming would deal with him. "Go and pass the message," Lu Ming said coldly. Yes, please wait a moment." The young man nodded and bowed, then quickly ran in to pass on the message. Not long after, 3 old men in black robes inlaid with gold followed the young man out. These 3 old men were the outer sect enforcement hall's elders. Black robes with gold embellishments were their symbol. "Little brother, do you really have a gold token?" One of the elders looked at Lu Ming. "Not bad." Lu Ming took out the gold token again. "It really is a gold token." The 3 old men looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. "Little brother, why are you looking for us?" An elder said with a pleasant expression. As the enforcement hall's elders, they knew much more inside information. They knew very well that only the sect master and a few grand supreme elders had the golden token of the Kongxian sect. Lu Ming was young and his cultivation level was not high, but he actually had a golden token. It was obvious that he had an unusual relationship with the sect master or the grand supreme elders. Naturally, they had to curry favor with him. "Seniors, it's like this," Lu Ming told them about his intention to set up a bet and asked them to be the witnesses. "So it's this matter. This is a small matter, well go with you." "That's right, it's a small matter." The few elders were all smiles. The eyelids of the 2 young men guarding the door twitched. They could swear to the heavens that if anyone else dared to come and find the 3 law enforcement elders to witness such a ridiculous thing, they would definitely be slapped to death by them. However, they were not displeased with Lu Ming at all. It was all because of the gold token. Then he'll have to trouble the seniors. Lu Ming cupped his fists. A small matter, just a small matter. A few enforcement hall elders smiled amicably, then flew toward the outer gate area with Lu Ming. More and more people gathered around the life and death battle stage in the outer gate area. And NBSP Huang Wu, Huang Wen, Dongfang Hao, and the others had also arrived. "He's here, Lu Ming is here." Suddenly, someone shouted. Everyone looked in the same direction. Then, everyone's eyes couldn't help but widen. Behind Lu Ming were 3 old men in black robes inlaid with gold. They were all too familiar to the outer sect disciples. They were the elders of the law enforcement hall. "Nest, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Are those really elders of the tribunal council? And there are 3 of them? Fucking super. Your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. I saw it too. My God, what's this kid's background? He's actually able to invite an elder of the enforcement palace." The people who were certain that Lu Ming would not be able to invite the enforcement hall's elder felt as if their throats were blocked by a ball of dog fur. Their faces were flushed red. This kid, Huang Wen, Huang Wu, and the rest narrowed their eyes. They could not help but guess that Lu Ming had some kind of background. Then, they all shook their heads. They had inquired about Lu Ming's background. He was just an outer sect disciple who had just entered the sect. He was talented, but he did not have any background. No matter what methods he used, he will die in a few days. Dongfang Hao said coldly. He had absolute confidence in himself. Chapter 2682, 200 million God crystals. Lease reading Omicron N novel cool. Omicron M. Soon, Lu Ming and the 3 Tribunal Council elders arrived. Everyone, I've invited the 3 Tribunal Council elders. You can rest assured now. Lu Ming said loudly. Don't worry, everyone. We can bear witness to this. An elder of the Tribunal Council spoke and said no more. After all, they were a little embarrassed. Said to witness such a thing. I have a question. Even with the 3 elders of the Tribunal Council as witnesses, do you have enough divine crystals to compensate us if we win? An outer sect disciple shouted. That's right. If you're trying to trick us, then we've bet for nothing. That's right. How many divine crystals do you have? Many people asked. Indeed, they had their doubts. They were afraid that Lu Ming did not have that many divine crystals with him. I know you don't believe me, so I'll show you. Lu Ming waved his hand and a pile of divine crystals appeared in the air, exuding a strong divine chi fluctuation. Here are 1.5 million divine crystals. According to the odds of 1 to 1, it's enough for you to bet 150 million divine crystals. Lu Ming said loudly. Lu Ming had sold some middle-grade divine artifacts and had 1.6 million divine crystals left. So many divine crystals. Lu Ming is actually so rich. Many people's eyes lit up. And NBSP, in addition, if you're still worried, you can also PWN off this middle-quality divine artifact. Zhao Feng said. Lu Ming took out 2 divine weapons. Lu Ming still had 5 middle-grade divine artifacts left. They were all level 3 middle-grade divine artifacts and above. Now, he took out 2 of them, both of which were level 4 middle-grade divine artifacts. Each of them could be sold for 150,000 divine crystals. The 2 swords could be sold for a total of 3 million yuan, and even many outer sect deacons were looking at them with burning eyes. Lu Ming actually has so many divine crystals and treasures on him. He's really willing to take them out. He knows he's about to die, so he's not going to bring it with him. He's just trying to give it away before he dies so that Dongfang Hao won't take advantage of it. Definitely. Many people thought that Lu Ming knew that he was no match for Dongfang Hao and was going to die at his hands. He was not willing to let his wealth fall into Dongfang Hao's hands, so he distributed his wealth in this way to disgust Dongfang Hao. It. As expected, Dongfang Hao was disgusted and roared in his heart. He did not expect that Lu Ming would have so much wealth on him. In his opinion, as long as he killed Lu Ming, all this wealth would be his. However, Lu Ming actually wanted to distribute this wealth. His heart was bleeding. All right, let's place our bets now. If you bet on Dongfang Hao, 100 for 1. If you bet on me, 100 for 1. Lu Ming shouted. I'll bet 200,000 on Dongfang Hao. I bet 300,000 divine crystals on Dongfang Hao. I'll bet 200,000 divine crystals too. At once, a group of outer sect disciples rushed forward in a frenzy. They were betting on Dongfang Haoxing with almost all their sets. In their opinion, Lu Ming was giving away his wealth. It would be a waste if they did not take it. One by one, don't worry, I'll write a written pledge for you. Lu Ming took out his brush and ink and wrote down notes one after another. Then, piles of divine crystals were stored in Lu Ming's storage ring. In a short while, Lu Ming had collected 50 million divine crystals. If you buy 100, you'll have to pay 1. If you buy 1,000,000, you'll earn 10,000. It's a waste if you don't buy it. Even some of the outer sect deacons were tempted. Of course, the outer sect elders just smiled. They didn't care about the divine crystals. Big brother, shall we go bet as well? Huang Wu looked at Huang Wen. Good. Lu Ji, go and place a bet for me. 5 million divine crystals. Huang Wen said. With a wave of his hand, a storage ring flew towards one of the young men. He couldn't show up himself, so he called another young man to help. As expected of a genius of the inner sect, he offered 5 million in one go. Lu Ji took it and went to bet on Lu Ming. Lu Ming received more and more divine crystals. Very soon, he had received more than 100 million. At this moment, a few figures appeared beside Lu Ming. They were the outer sect deacons. Le Zhong. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. One of the outer sect deacons was Le Zhong. Back then, in the forest, he had wanted to kill Lu Ming. Deacons, do you also want to place a bet? Lu Ming said. What's wrong? You don't welcome me? Lu sneered. You're welcome. Of course, you're welcome. How much are you betting? Lu Ming said with a smile. I'll bet 20 million low-grade divine crystals. Le Zhong took out a storage ring. I'll give you 10 million too. I'll also pay 15 million. A few deacons spoke one after another. These deacons were all from the Tianhong sect. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and accepted them one by one. Interesting, shall we play? If I can earn divine crystals, why wouldn't I? At that moment, a group of young men and women flew toward Lu Ming. All of them had a strong aura and were full of confidence. Many outer sect disciples' expressions changed when they saw this, and they revealed looks of respect. A heaven's favorite on the virtual god ranking list. These young men and women were all heaven's favorites on the virtual god ranking. They were all ranked above Dongfang Hao and were definitely powerful. This time, the battle between Lu Ming and Dongfang Hao had attracted the attention of other virtual god rankers. Place your bets. Lu Ming swept a glance at these people. This kid really doesn't know what's good for him. I'll bet 5 million. A purple-robed young man took out a storage ring and said indifferently. He looked at Lu Ming as if he was looking at a dead man. He's just joined the sect, and he's already challenging Dongfang Hao. What a fool. I'll bet 5 million too. Another young man chimed in. These people were all geniuses from the Floating Light faction. They belonged to the same faction as Dongfang Hao. Naturally, they did not like Lu Ming. Lu Ming sneered. He did not reject anything and took all of them. In the end, Lu Ming received a total of 200 million divine crystals. If he lost, he would have to pay 2 million god crystals. 200 million. I'm rich now. I can cultivate in any of the cultivation sanctuaries in the inner sect. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Alright, I'll hand over the divine crystals I've received and my own to the elders of the Tribunal Council for safekeeping. If I die in battle, you can go to the elders to collect the divine crystals according to the receipt. Lu Ming handed a few storage rings to the 3 Tribunal Council elders. Then, Lu Ming looked at Dongfang Hao and said, Dongfang Hao, why don't we have a fight today? Since you're so eager to die, I'll naturally fulfill your wish, let's go. Dongfang Hao said coldly. Then, he rose into the air and landed on the life and death stage. Lu Ming moved and stepped onto the fighting ring as well, standing opposite Dongfang Hao. It's about to start. I wonder how many moves Lu Ming can take from Dongfang Hao. Dongfang Hao is at the peak of virtual god and his combat strength far exceeds his peers. I'm afraid Lu Ming won't be able to take 3 moves. I think so too. Let alone 3 moves, even 1 move is profound. Let's just wait to collect divine crystals. Chapter 2683 The Great Battle with Dongfang Hao. Lise reading Omicron N novel cool. Omicron M. Many people were discussing and looking at the fighting ring, hoping that Lu Ming would be killed in 1 move. Then, they could sit down and collect the divine crystals. Boom! On the fighting ring, a terrifying aura burst out from Dongfang Hao's body. The divine power of a peak 9th level virtual god realm expert was fully unleashed, forming a powerful wave of divine power that pressed toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's body was like a rock, not moving at all. "You're quite capable. I'd like to see how capable you are to dare to accept my life and death duel invitation," Dongfang Hao said coldly. Then, he took a step forward and charged toward Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. Buzz! His palm was like a knife, and he slashed at Lu Ming. Although it was a palm, the knife force was extremely sharp, wanting to cut Lu Ming in half. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. His divine power shook Dongfang Hao's wave of divine power away and he threw a punch at it. "You actually didn't use a divine artifact to take my attack. You're really looking for death. This attack will split you in half." Dongfang Hao roared in his heart as he struck Lu Ming's fist with his palm. On the fighting ring, there was fled boom, like the vibration of a heavenly drum. Then, circles of strong chi ripples spread out in all directions, and a level 12 wind seemed to be blowing on the fighting ring. Then, the two figures floated back hundreds of meters. What? Many people's pupils suddenly shrank. It was blocked. Lu Ming had actually blocked Dongfang Hao's attack. How is that possible? Lu Ming's cultivation base was only at 4th level Void God Realm, yet he was able to block Dongfang Hao's attack. This is too terrifying. It can't be. Many people were shocked, especially those who had bet on Dongfang Haosheng. He won't. Dongfang Hao has underestimated his enemy. He didn't even use much of his strength just now. Yes, it must be like this. After all, Lu Ming is the #1 new disciple. He's quite powerful. I guess he's used all his strength just now, and Dongfang Hao didn't use much of his strength. That's why he managed to block it. Yes, it must be like this. Many people seem to have found a way to ease their minds. How did this kid break through to the 4th level of the Void God Realm? Below the fighting ring, Huang Wu was the most shocked. He had fought with Lu Ming the earliest and was very clear about Lu Ming's previous cultivation. When Lu Ming had just entered the sect, he was only a demigod. However, he was already on 4th level Void God level now. What kind of improvement speed was this? He was almost scared to death. What's wrong? And NBSP seeing Huang Wu's expression, Huang Wen frowned and asked. That kid's cultivation isn't right. It's not right. When he first entered the sect a few years ago, he was only at the demigod realm. Huang Wu's mouth trembled as he spoke. What? Huang Wen, as well as the others beside him, were all shocked. Their eyes were wide open. Impossible. He was only a demigod a few years ago, and now he's already at the 4th level of the Void God realm. His foundation is also solid. This is impossible, completely impossible. One of the young men immediately shook his head in disbelief. Are you sure? Huang Wen asked with a dark expression. He's indeed a demigod. He was indeed a demigod a few years ago. Huang Wu said, trembling. Impossible. I don't believe it. Perhaps, when you fought him a few years ago, he hid his cultivation. There are many secret skills that can hide cultivation in the primeval universe. That's right, he must have hidden his cultivation. The few young men shook their heads. They did not believe Huang Wu's words at all. They thought that Lu Ming had hidden his cultivation level in the past. What a joke. This was virtual god level they were talking about. It would be extremely difficult to level up. They would never believe that he could level up from demigod level to 4th level virtual god level in just a few years. Huang Wen shook his head as well. He believed that Lu Ming had hidden his cultivation level back then. Huang Wu's face paled, unable to speak. He was sure that his senses were not wrong. What a monster. I hope he dies in Dongfang Hao's hands. Huang Wu roared in his heart. At this moment, Dongfang Hao was also shocked. Other people thought that he had not used his full strength, but he knew very well that in that move just now, other than the divine weapon and divine skill, he had already used 100% of his divine power. He had planned to kill Lu Ming with one move. He had never expected that Lu Ming's strength would be so shocking that he could block an attack with 100% of his divine power. Kid, you have some skills. Let's see how many moves you can block. Dongfang Hao said coldly. Cut the CRP, show me what you've got. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Lu Ming said indifferently. Since you want to die, it'll fulfill your wish, let's go. Dongfang Hao reached out his hand, and a golden saber appeared in his palm. It looked like it was made of gold. Buzz! The battle saber shook, and the saber radiance soared into the sky. This was a level 9 low-grade god equipment. Lu Ming had an idea and he took out a level 9 low-grade divine artifact spear. 9 void slashes, die. Dongfang Hao roared. His body and the saber merged, and the saber radiance soared into the sky, slashing at Lu Ming. This was a divine skill. Dongfang Hao's second attack was a real killing move, and it was extremely powerful. Fortunately, the life and death battle stage was covered with a light shield. Otherwise, Dongfang Hao's blade light would have rushed out and all the spectators would have been enveloped by it. A divine skill? Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. This was the first time he had seen someone using a divine skill in a battle. The power of a divine skill was indeed terrifying. It was completely incomparable to an incomplete divine skill. Let's try and see how powerful it is. Lu Ming muttered. The long spear vibrated and hummed. Then, he pulled the spear out. Lu Ming did not use the 3 apocalyptic strikes. Instead, he used an incomplete divine skill. Lu Ming had already cultivated the incomplete spear technique to the 7th level, the highest level. Boom! The long spear and the saber gleam collided. 15 levels of power burst out from Lu Ming's long spear in an instant. 15 layers of power, like a stormy sea, surged towards the other. However, Dongfang Hao's blade ray was shockingly powerful. It kept on breaking through the layers of power. A series of explosions rang out as the two figures quickly retreated. This time, the two of them retreated a few hundred meters before they could stabilize themselves. What? He blocked it again. How is this possible? This is impossible. Many people couldn't believe it. Many people rubbed their eyes, thinking that they were seeing things. However, after rubbing, the scene was still the same, which really made them dumbfounded. Just now, Dongfang Hao had clearly used his ultimate skill. The power was terrifying and he definitely did not hold back on purpose. However, Lu Ming had still managed to block it. The 7th level of the incomplete divine skill. That kid has actually cultivated the incomplete divine skill to the 7th level. What a terrifying comprehension ability. Many people gasped. To be able to cultivate an incomplete divine skill to the 7th level at the 4th level of the Void God realm was definitely shocking. No wonder it was so powerful. This kid is too monstrous. He must be eliminated. Huang Wen's eyes were extremely cold. Chapter 2684 Intestines Turning Green with Regret. Lease reading Omicron N novel. Cool. Omicron M, is this all you've got? I'm really disappointed. In the fighting ring, Lu Ming shook his head and looked at Dongfang Hao in disdain. Kid, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you blocked 2 of my moves. I'll kill you with my next move. Dongfang Hao roared, his killing intent as sharp as a blade. He was a 9th tier virtual god level powerhouse and an expert on the virtual god ranking list. To him, it was a great humiliation that he could not kill Lu Ming, who was a 4th tier virtual god level powerhouse, even after he used his ultimate skill. Kill, die. Dongfang Hao shouted as he raised his saber with both hands. His divine power burst out, and saber rays appeared above his head. In the end, a total of 9 blade gleams appeared. Each of them exuded a terrifying aura. Dongfang Hao had pushed his godly skill to its limit. Void 9 slashes, 9 slashes annihilate God. Die. Dongfang Hao bellowed. The 9 rays of saber radiance exuded a terrifying aura, carrying the power to destroy gods, and slashed at Lu Ming. Before the saber ray had even reached him, the terrifying saber force had already swept toward Lu Ming, wanting to tear him apart. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. At this moment, Lu Ming circulated the ruler's divine energy to the extreme. At the same time, Lu Ming activated the double combat power of the battle character formula. Lu Ming's body was filled with powerful energy. Once again, he shot out with his spear. This time, Lu Ming did not use the divine skill. Instead, he used the incomplete divine skill. Boom! 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 The 9 rays of saber radiance that Dongfang Hao had condensed slashed toward Lu Ming one after another, each more powerful than the last. Every time it slashed down and collided with Lu Ming's long spear, there would be a terrifying explosion. Everyone's hearts were in their throats as they stared unblinkingly at the scene. They wanted to know if Lu Ming would be killed by Dongfang Hao in one strike. I hope Dongfang Hao can kill that kid. Those who had bet on Dongfang Hao's victory kept praying in their hearts, hoping that Lu Ming would die in Dongfang Hao's hands. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. After 9 loud bangs, Lu Ming stood still, completely unscathed. He did not even have a single wound on him. Dongfang Hao, on the other hand, was panting. Although a 9th-level Void God Realm expert could use divine techniques, it consumed a lot of divine power. Dongfang Hao had used up a lot of his divine power just now. What? He's not dead yet. That Lu Ming, why is he not dead yet? Many people were shocked. They couldn't believe that a 4th-level Void God Realm cultivator could still stand after Dongfang Hao's full-force attack. How was this possible? It, this brat, why isn't he dead yet? Around the fighting ring, many people, including Le Zhong and the other deacons of the outer gate, were roaring. Each of them had bet a large number of divine crystals. Le Zhong, in particular, had bet a total of 20 million divine crystals. He hoped very much that Lu Ming would be killed. What powerful strength! As expected of someone who possesses a gold token. The 3 enforcement hall's elders had a look of shock in their eyes as well. Previously, they had guessed that Lu Ming might be the disciple of some big shot in Kongxian sect. Now, they felt that it was very possible. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? They secretly rejoiced. It seemed that they had made the right decision to help Lu Ming this time. Dongfang Hao, is this all you've got? How disappointing. Well then, it's my turn now. Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward and charged at Dongfang Hao. His long spear was like a mountain range, pressing down on Dongfang Hao. No. Dongfang Hao used his remaining divine power to block it, but after the collision, he was forced back, his face pale and his body trembling. Just now, he had used all his strength to release the divine skill and it had consumed too much divine power. At this moment, he could no longer block Lu Ming's attack. Kill, die. Lu Ming shouted as he continued to attack with his spear, shrouding Dongfang Hao in layers of spear shadows. Dongfang Hao charged left and right, but it was useless. He was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. Bang! He was caught off guard and was hit by Lu Ming's spear. More than a dozen layers of power burst out and hit Dongfang Hao. He screamed in pain and was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. A big hole had been blown into his chest, and his breath was weak. Don't kill me, Dongfang Hao yelled in terror. Kill. Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward, his killing intent extremely cold. Senior brother Huang Wen, save me, save me. Dongfang Hao screamed at the top of his lungs. If this continued, he would really die. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Before the battle, he would never have dreamed that it would end up like this. In his mind, he could easily kill Lu Ming and he would not be in any danger. If he had known that Lu Ming was so terrifying, he would never have sent out the life and death duel letter. Lu Ming, that's enough. Huang Wen shouted with a dark expression. That's right. We're all senior and junior brothers. It's enough to determine the victor. There's no need to take his life. Lu Zhong also said. Haha, what a joke. You guys don't know that this is a death match. Dongfang Hao and I have signed a death match agreement. Only one of us can leave the stage. Lu Ming laughed heartily. When it's possible to forgive someone, one should forgive them. Lu Zhong said coldly. I'll spare you, you bastard, fuck. Lu Ming cursed. He charged at Dongfang Hao with his spear at the speed of lightning. Ah! Dongfang Hao screamed hysterically and tried to dodge, but it was useless. The spear pierced through his head. Pfft! Dongfang Hao's head exploded like a watermelon. Dongfang Hao was dead. He's dead. Dongfang Hao is dead. Many people's faces turned pale and they broke out in cold sweat. They had bet a lot of their skills on Dongfang Hao's victory. Some of them had even bet their entire net worth. But now, Dongfang Hao was dead. My divine crystals. Someone screamed in pain and wanted to beat his chest and stamp his feet. As for those who didn't have time to place their bets, they were extremely glad. They had been secretly angry that they had come a step too late and lost the chance to pick up money. Now, they realized how lucky they were. D-A-M-N-it, D-A-M-N-it. In the midst of the music, there were a few other deacons whose faces were as black as charcoal. How did this happen? Below the fighting ring, Huang Wen, Huang Wu, and the others were all pale. Dongfang Hao is dead. They found it hard to believe. A disciple who had just joined the sect a few years ago had actually killed Dongfang Hao, who was on the virtual god ranking. In the fighting ring, Lu Ming shook his spear, shaking off the blood on it. Then, he reached out and sucked Dongfang Hao's storage ring into his hand. It was his spoils of war. Elders, I've killed Dongfang Hao. I've won. Those divine crystals are all mine. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the 3 Tribunal Council elders. That's right, you've won. These storage rings are for you. One of the enforcement hall's elders suppressed the shock in his heart and threw the storage ring to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it with a fiery look in his eyes. Chapter 2685. Want to return it? No way. Lise reading Omicron N novel. Cool. Omicron M. This time, he had earned big. He had won 200 million low-grade divine crystals. If he exchanged them for sect points, he would have a total of 20,000 points. 1 day of cultivation in the Divine Pulse Tower was 1 point. 20,000 points were enough for Lu Ming to cultivate in the Divine Pulse Tower for more than 50 years. Previously, Lu Ming had only cultivated for 3 months in the Divine Pulse Tower and his cultivation level had risen from 3rd level to 4th level Void God level. The effect was amazing. The higher one's cultivation was, the more difficult it would be to make a breakthrough, and the time required would naturally be much longer. However, if he cultivated in the Divine Pulse Tower for more than 50 years, his cultivation would increase by a large margin. Many people's hearts were bleeding when they saw Lu Ming put away the storage ring. That was their divine crystals. My 10 million divine gems. An outer deacon's face twitched, and his heart was bleeding. Although they were all high-level true gods, tens of millions of low-grade divine crystals was still a considerable amount. It won't be that easy to take my divine crystals. Lu snorted coldly and then sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming, brat. Come to my mansion right away and give me back the 20 million divine crystals. Also, you've insulted me just now, so you must be punished. If you give me another 50 million divine crystals as compensation, I'll let bygones be bygones. This voice rang directly in Lu Ming's ears. A threat, a blatant threat. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. He looked at the music and his voice spread throughout the entire venue. Deacon Lezhong, you're already so old. Don't you know that you must accept your loss? With your status as a deacon, you actually threatened me with a voice transmission just now, asking me to return the 20 million divine crystals to you. You also threatened me to pay you another 50 million divine crystals. How can you say something like that? Lu Ming did not try to hide anything. Everyone heard what he said. Everyone's eyes turned to Lezhong. Some people revealed looks of disdain. After Lezhong lost the divine crystals, he actually threatened Lu Ming in secret. How despicable. DAMNBASTRDDAMN and NBSP, he roared in the center of the music, and his anger was about to burn. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so bold as to directly say his threatening words, causing him to lose face. Brat, you are playing with fire. You are seeking death. Lu sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Look, here he comes again. He's sending me a voice transmission to threaten me, saying that he's going to kill me. Lu Ming shrieked, then cupped his fists at the 3 law enforcement elders. 3 elders, a deacon has threatened this disciple in public. This disciple is truly in fear and trepidation. Lezhong, one of the law enforcement elders, looked at Lezhong with a cold gaze. Lezhong shivered and quickly shouted, Elder, there's no such thing. This kid is framing me. Humph, it better not be. The law enforcement elder snorted. Lezhong's face turned gloomy and he didn't dare to say anything more. Lu Ming, you're too greedy. Are you really going to swallow all these divine crystals? I bet all my fortune on it just now. Can you return some to me? At this moment, a young man shouted. Not bad, return some to me. Following that, the others also started shouting. Even a few geniuses on the virtual god ranking list chimed in. They'd bet a lot just now and had also suffered heavy losses. Return? What a joke. If you weren't so greedy, how could you have lost to me? Lu Ming sneered. Return? How was that possible? These people had been waiting for him to die. How could he return the divine crystal to them now? Lu Ming, you have to know when to stop. I'm only asking you to return a part of it, not all of it. You've earned a lot by returning 50 to 60%. We're all senior and junior brothers, so it'll be easier for you to get along in the future. Otherwise, you've offended so many people. Even if you get so many divine crystals, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to spend them. A yellow-robed young man, a heaven's favorite on the virtual god ranking, from the Tianhong sect, said coldly. Although he didn't make it clear, anyone could hear the threat in his words. He was implying that Lu Ming would offend too many people if he swallowed all the divine crystals. He was afraid that he would not be able to spend the divine crystals even if he earned them. This time, the 3 tribunal council elders did not say anything. They too felt that it would not do Lu Ming any good to offend so many people at once. Even though Lu Ming had an extraordinary background, everyone present was under the various saint sections. If he offended all of them, he would not have a good time in the future. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered. These people clearly lost the bet, their hearts ached, and they wanted to take back a part of it, but what kind of logic was this? All right, if you want a part of it back, that's fine. Lu Ming's voice was heard and many people's eyes lit up. All outer sect disciples, I'll give you a chance. Go up the stage and fight me. Whoever defeats me, I'll return the divine crystals, but whoever is defeated by me, you have to leave behind something. Lu Ming continued. What? Most of the outer sect disciples immediately hung their heads in dejection. To defeat Lu Ming? You must be joking. Did they not see that even Dongfang Hao, who was on the virtual god ranking list, had been killed by Lu Ming? How could they be his match? Wouldn't he be looking for a beating if he went up? However, some people's eyes lit up. They were the heavens' favorites on the virtual god ranking list. This battle is only about victory or defeat, not about life or death. Whoever wins, it'll return double the divine crystals. If you lose, you'll have to leave behind a treasure. For example, a king-grade divine skill, a level 3 divine skill, a mid-grade divine artifact, or the corresponding divine crystals. Anything is fine. Lu Ming spoke again. You said it yourself. The yellow-robed young man shouted. With so many people as witnesses, I will keep my word. Lu Ming said. All right, I'll challenge you now. The yellow-robed young man moved and rushed into the fighting ring. Huang Qingan is about to make his move. Many people's eyes lit up. Huang Qingan was ranked 98th on the virtual god ranking list, which was more than 20 places higher than Dongfang Hao. His battle strength was also much stronger than Dongfang Hao's. What kind of treasure are you using to fight me? Lu Ming said. A king-grade cultivation technique. Huang Qingan waved his hand and a yellow scroll appeared in his hand. A king-grade cultivation technique. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He cultivated the heaven and earth thousand Tao scripture. As long as he cultivated other divine techniques and cultivated a wisp of corresponding divine power, he would be able to light the corresponding divine fire. In the future, as long as he continued to cultivate the heaven and earth thousand Tao scripture, his divine power would also improve. Lu Ming had wanted to cultivate it for a long time, but he did not have any other amazing techniques. Originally, he had wanted to go to the inner sect scripture depository to exchange for the money he had earned this time. All right, where's your receipt? Let me see how many divine crystals you've bet. Lu Ming said. Then, Huang Qingan took out a written pledge of 5 million divine gems. To an ethereal god realm expert, 5 million divine gems was a terrifying number. No wonder Huang Qingan was so anxious. Chapter 2686 Moon Reading Ghost Spear Fine. If you can defeat me, I'll give you back the 10 million. Now, let us give the divine crystals to Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Lu Ming took out a storage ring and stored 10 million divine crystals in it. He then handed the storage ring to a law enforcement patriarch. Huang Qingan also handed the king-grade divine skill to the law enforcement elder. Then, the two of them returned to the fighting ring. Boom! A powerful aura burst out from Huang Qingan's body. His divine power surged and was instantly activated to the extreme. You may have defeated Dongfang Hao, but you're still not strong enough to defeat me. Huang Qingan said indifferently, full of confidence. Earlier, he had seen the fight between Lu Ming and Dongfang Hao. Lu Ming was only slightly stronger than Dongfang Hao. In fact, he might not even be stronger than Dongfang Hao. The reason Dongfang Hao was killed by Lu Ming was that he had overexerted his divine power. His combat strength was much stronger than Dongfang Hao's. He was confident that he could defeat Lu Ming. You are very confident. I hope you have the corresponding strength. Lu Ming said indifferently. You'll see it soon. Huang Qingan said coldly. A long spear appeared in his hand. Huang Qingan was also good at using a long spear. Moon Reading Ghost Spear. With a long howl, Huang Qingan made his move. With a thrust of his spear, ghostly shadows filled the fighting ring. Countless roars rang out, shocking everyone. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a black spear shadow stabbed toward Lu Ming as fast as lightning. Huang Qingan used his most powerful divine skill. Buzz! Lu Ming's long spear trembled and divine power circulated. He also stabbed out with his spear. Clang! There was a sharp sound of collision. Lu Ming had defeated Huang Qingan's spear shadow. However, at this moment, a strange energy invaded Lu Ming's body. In an instant, it appeared in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and turned into a few ghostly shadows, trying to tear Lu Ming's soul apart. Huang Qingan's attack could actually directly attack the soul. It was very strange. However, Lu Ming circulated his ruler's divine power in his sea of consciousness. The ghostly figures dissipated, but Lu Ming also took a few steps back. On the surface, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming is no match for them. He's been forced to retreat. He is indeed not Huang Qingan's match. It's already a miracle that he could defeat Dongfang Hao. After all, Dongfang Hao is only at the bottom of the virtual god ranking list. His ranking is still unstable, so he can't be compared to Huang Qingan. That's right. Lu Ming is going to be defeated. It's a pity that it's not a deathmatch this time. Huang Qingan can't kill Lu Ming without signing the deathmatch agreement. Some people immediately started discussing. Those who had lost the divine crystals could not wait for Lu Ming to be defeated. Although they would not be able to get back the divine crystals, they would feel more comfortable. Lose. After forcing Lu Ming back with one move, Huang Qingan's follow-up attacks were endless as he charged towards Lu Ming. Small tricks. Lu Ming sneered. This time, he used his ruler's divine power to guard his sea of consciousness. The other party's attack could not break in at all. Lu Ming continuously struck out with his spear and collided with his opponent. In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. Huang Qingan became more and more shocked as he fought. Huang Qingan, this is all you've got. It seems like you won't be able to get your divine crystals back. Lu Ming sneered. Lu Ming, don't be too smug. Watch my strongest move, Moon Reading Ghost Spear, Shocking Explosion Divine Ring. Huang Qingan bellowed. Suddenly, his strength increased by another level. That's the second level of the divine skill, that's terrifying. As expected of someone ranked 98th on the virtual god ranking. He's only at level 9 of the virtual god realm, but he's already cultivated the Moon Reading Ghost Spear to level 2. Many people exclaimed. Generally speaking, those at the 9th tier of the void god realm could comprehend and cultivate divine skills. However, it was difficult for those who were not talented enough to successfully cultivate them. Only people with high talent could successfully cultivate it, but they were usually at the first stage. Only after breaking through to the true god realm could they cultivate to the second stage. For example, Chaotic Astral River's Yuan Luo Hall Master Kong Ji and Unfettered Sect Master Situ Haonan were both at the 4th level of the true god stage. Moreover, they had only managed to cultivate their divine skills to the 2nd level after countless years of cultivation. Huang Qingan, on the other hand, was only at the 9th level of the void god realm, but he had already cultivated the divine skill to the 2nd level, which showed his talent. The long spear in Huang Qingan's hand trembled and then spun continuously. A black vortex appeared at the tip of the spear, emitting a terrifying tearing force. Kill! Huang Qingan roared and charged towards Lu Ming. The black vortex also charged towards Lu Ming, wanting to crush him into pieces. The power of the 2nd stage of the divine skill is indeed amazing. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. He knew that he could not block the other party's move by relying on the incomplete divine skill alone. In that case, let's see the power of the... Lu Ming muttered, and the momentum of the spear suddenly changed. The first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, sky-breaking. A deep voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth. Lu Ming's entire body merged with the spear, and the spear's gleam shot up. It was so stunning that it seemed to shatter the void. Boom! Lu Ming's spear gleam charged into the pitch-black vortex that Huang Qingan had created. Exterminate! Huang Qingan shouted. However, the next moment, his expression changed drastically. His eyes popped out and he looked extremely frightened. Bang! Then, the pitch-black vortex he had created rumbled continuously. In the end, it was pierced through by a terrifying spear radiance and exploded. Ah! Huang Qingan screamed. His body was thrown backward like a kite with a broken string. He fell heavily on the ground and slid all the way to the edge of the fighting ring before stopping. The scene was dead silent. Everyone looked at the scene in disbelief. Everyone saw Huang Qingan spit out a large mouthful of blood. His breath was extremely weak, and a hole had appeared in his chest, from the front to the back, with blood flowing out. He was defeated. Huang Chengan was defeated. Lu Ming had actually defeated Huang Chengan. This level of combat strength was too terrifying, right? In the midst of their joy, Huang Wen and the others revealed expressions of shock. Do you still want to fight? Lu Ming landed on the fighting ring and strode toward Huang Chengan. I'm not fighting anymore, one admit defeat. Huang Chengan shouted and rushed down the fighting ring. Lu Ming is the winner of this battle. This is your trophy. The elders of the Tribunal Council were shocked as well. They handed over the 10 million divine crystals and the royal grade technique to Lu Ming. Did Lu Ming just use a godly skill? It's definitely a divine skill, and its power is extremely shocking. He's only at the 4th level of the Void God realm. How did he manage to successfully cultivate the divine skill? This is too abnormal, he's abnormal. If he grows up, the Kongxian sect will probably have another saint. Even now, many people were still unable to calm down and were immersed in shock. The power of the 3 apocalyptic strikes is indeed amazing. Lu Ming muttered. He realized that the power of the 3 apocalyptic strikes was much stronger than the moon-reading ghost spear that Huang Chengan cultivated. Just now, Lu Ming had only used the power of the 1st stage and he had already broken through the 2nd stage. Chapter 2587 Virtual God Ranking Number 51 The power of the 3 apocalyptic strikes was indeed amazing. It was only the 1st stage, but it had already broken through Huang Chengan's 2nd stage divine skill. However, the battle formula also helped. After cultivating the battle formula, the power of any divine skill or secret skill would be enhanced and he would be stronger than others. In addition, the 3 apocalyptic strikes was already powerful to begin with. Hence, Lu Ming broke through the 2nd stage of the opponent at the 1st stage. Lu Ming held his long spear and stood on the life and death battle stage like an invincible god of war. For a moment, he was the center of attention. Are there any more battles? Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. As he spoke, he took out a pile of divine crystals and absorbed the energy in them to recover his divine energy. The use of a divine skill consumed a lot of divine power. Although he had only used one move, Lu Ming's divine power was greatly consumed. After all, his current cultivation was still low. Those who were swept by Lu Ming's gaze turned pale and did not dare to look him in the eye. Even the few geniuses on the virtual god ranking looked gloomy. Huang Chengan was ranked 98th on the virtual god list, far superior to Dongfang Hao. He had even cultivated the divine skill to the 2nd level. With his current combat strength, he might be ranked higher, but he had still been defeated by Lu Ming. Although some of the people present were ranked higher than Huang Chengan, they were not that much higher. They had no confidence that they would be able to fight against Lu Ming. For a time, no one actually went up. Who else is there? Lu Ming asked again, his eyes even brighter. I'll fight you. At this time, a cold voice was heard. In the distance, a figure came over like a whirlwind and landed on the fighting ring. It was a scrawny young man with crimson skin. It was obvious that he was not human, but Lu Ming could not tell what race he was at the moment. It's a scorpion tiger. It's ranked 51st on the virtual god ranking. Many people were shocked and they saw the red-skinned young man. The scorpion tiger is about to make its move. I wonder if Lu Ming dares to accept the challenge. Xie's strength is far above Huang Chengan's. I heard that Xie who once had a huge battle with a 1st stage true god expert. Although he was no match, he still managed to escape. I've also heard about it. Many people started to discuss intensely. The gap between the ethereal god realm and the true god realm was a big realm, which was a big gap between their powers. It was very difficult for a nihility god to fight a true god. Let alone a battle, it was extremely difficult for him to even escape. One could see how strong the scorpion tiger was. He's ranked 51st on the virtual god ranking list. Lu Ming muttered, a strong fighting spirit rising from his body. I'll bet with you on a fourfold divine skill. If you lose, you have to give me 10 million divine crystals. If I lose, the fourfold divine skill is yours. The scorpion tiger took out a scroll. Sure. Lu Ming accepted the challenge. A fourfold divine skill could only be cultivated to the fourth fold at most. Lu Ming did not think much of it. The ninefold crimson gold armor and the 3 apocalyptic strikes that he cultivated were ninefold divine skills that could be cultivated to the ninth fold. However, the market value of a quadruple divine skill was extremely high. It could be sold for tens of millions of divine crystals. Naturally, Lu Ming would not reject it. The two of them gave the divine crystals and the scroll to a deacon elderly. Lu Ming actually accepted the challenge. He's really bold. I think he's just greedy. However, Huang Qingan and Dongfang Hao can't compare to the scorpion tiger. Lu Ming is definitely no match for it. Look at how confident Lu Ming is. Could it be that he still has a trump card? Well, just wait and see. This time, it was different from the previous time. Some people felt that Lu Ming was unfathomable and might have a trump card. They were not very sure that Lu Ming would lose without a doubt. Boom! Boom! On the fighting ring, the two's auras exploded and the waves of Shen power first collided. Whoosh! The scorpion tiger moved. Its body was thin, but its explosive power was shocking. It charged at Lu Ming with shocking speed. A blood-red sword appeared in its hand, and it stabbed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming only saw a blood-red sword light stabbing toward him at an unbelievable speed. Retreat. Lu Ming took a step back and quickly retreated. He swept his long spear horizontally at the scorpion tiger. However, the scorpion tiger changed its stance and dodged Lu Ming's long spear. You want to use this move to block me? It's useless. Multi-story sword art. The scorpion tiger's cold voice came out of its mouth. Then, beams of sword light bloomed from its hands, densely packed, and charged toward Lu Ming. Each sword light was extremely fast. The second level of the divine skill. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The scorpion tiger's divine skill had also been cultivated to the second level. From the looks of it, it was even more mature than Huang Qingan. 3 apocalyptic strikes, break the sky. Lu Ming muttered. His divine energy surged and he thrust his spear. Buzz! The stunning spear light lit up again, like a star in the night sky. The first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes was used once again. Wherever the spear radiance said, the scorpion tiger's sword radiance was constantly shattered. Just as the scorpion tiger was about to end up like Huang Qingan, his body suddenly trembled and he forcefully shifted a few hundred meters away, avoiding Lu Ming's attack. A speed-type godly skill. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The scorpion tiger had not only cultivated an offensive divine skill to the second level, but it had also mastered a speed divine skill. Just now, it had forcefully moved sideways with its speed divine skill and avoided Lu Ming's attack. It's so powerful. The scorpion tiger has cultivated a speed-type divine skill. It's only on virtual god level, but it's so strong. He's indeed powerful. No wonder he's a genius ranked 51st on the virtual god ranking list. Many people sighed. It was already impressive for a 9th-tier void god realm martial artist to cultivate a divine skill to the 1st tier. However, the scorpion tiger had cultivated several divine skills. It was indeed terrifying. Based on this alone, he was far above Huang Qingan. Lu Ming's unique skill can't hit the scorpion tiger. He's probably going to lose. He will definitely lose. With his Shen power, he will definitely not be able to use much of his finishing move. He will definitely lose. He's finally going to lose. Ha ha ha. Some people laughed. Your attacks are useless against me. Just stand there and get hit. the scorpion tiger said coldly. Then, its body moved and it charged toward Lu Ming again. Its speed was several times faster than before. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. The scorpion tiger's figure would appear on Lu Ming's left and right at times, and its sword light bloomed continuously, slashing at Lu Ming's vital points. Lu Ming waved his long spear and tried his best to block it. Clang. Clang. The two of them exchanged dozens of moves in a row and Lu Ming retreated continuously. Let's see how many moves you can block. The scorpion tiger's voice rang out, and its attacks became even more intense and violent. Suddenly, Lu Ming revealed a flaw. Now. The scorpion tiger's eyes lit up. It became one with the sword and used its strongest move. It turned into a crimson sword light and rushed through Lu Ming's flaw, killing him. Lu Ming could not avoid this move. Chapter 2687 Divine Ice Power. The scorpion tiger took advantage of Lu Ming's weak point and launched its strongest attack. Lu Ming could not avoid this attack and was about to be hit. Lose. The scorpion tiger said ferociously, as if it could already see 10 million divine gems waving at it. Defeated? You're the one who's defeated. At this moment, Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. Then, his body emitted a red light and a red gold armor appeared on the surface of Lu Ming's body. It was the 9-layered crimson gold armor. Lu Ming had deliberately revealed that flaw. Lu Ming did not cultivate any speed-type divine skill. He could not keep up with the scorpion tiger's speed by relying on the incomplete ROC wings technique. If he wanted to defeat the scorpion tiger, he had to lure it closer. Only then would he have a chance. Therefore, he deliberately revealed a flaw. The scorpion tiger was fooled and charged toward Lu Ming. Buzz. The scorpion tiger's combat sword stabbed the scarlet gold armor, making an ear-piercing sound. Sparks flew in all directions, and the scarlet gold armor trembled continuously. However, in the end, the scorpion tiger's attack was blocked. I blocked it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Lu Ming had only cultivated the first stage of the 9-stage crimson gold armor. At the peak of the first stage, he was afraid that he would not be able to withstand the other party's attacks. However, Jingyu had obtained the 9-fold crimson gold armor from his painting, and it was also incredibly profound, not inferior to the 3 apocalyptic strikes. With the support of the ruler's divine power, its defensive power was astonishing, allowing it to successfully block the scorpion tiger's attack. How could it be? The scorpion tiger was shocked that its attack had failed to break through Lu Ming's defense. It wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Lu Ming would not give it such a chance. Buzz. A long spear swept towards the scorpion tiger at a terrifying speed. Bang. The scorpion tiger was hit right on the head. It let out a blood-curdling screech as its body flew out like a broken sack. It crashed heavily on the fighting ring and slid a few thousand meters away. His body had almost exploded into two, and he was severely injured. Lu Ming's body moved and he thrust his long spear forward, stopping right in front of the scorpion tiger's glabella. Don't kill me. The scorpion tiger roared and broke out in a cold sweat. It only reacted after it had shouted. They were not in a life-and-death battle and Lu Ming could not kill it. You've lost. Lu Ming said indifferently. With a shake of his long spear, a stream of energy gushed out and sent the scorpion tiger flying out of the fighting ring. The scene was in an uproar. The scorpion tiger had actually lost. A heaven's favorite who was ranked 51st on the virtual god ranking list had been defeated by Lu Ming, a disciple who had just joined the sect. This was extremely rare in the history of the Kongxian sect. Most importantly, Lu Ming's cultivation level was only at 4th level virtual god level. This level of combat strength was too terrifying. A defensive skill at the 4th level of the ethereal god realm. Not only did he cultivate an offensive skill, but he also cultivated a defensive skill. What kind of monstrous comprehension is this? Is he still a new disciple? His combat strength is way too strong. Today, he has defeated 3 geniuses on the virtual god ranking list. From now on, Dongfang Hao will fall from the virtual god ranking while Lu Ming will be ranked 51st on the virtual god ranking. These words made many people look at each other. An existence at the 4th level of the Void God realm was ranked 51st on the Void God ranking. This had never happened in the Kong Xian sect. This, in the midst of the laughter, Huang Wen and the others were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Then, a cold killing intent gushed out from their hearts. The more powerful Lu Ming was, the greater the threat he posed to them and the more they had to get rid of him. The future generations are truly fearsome. One of the law enforcement elders laughed and handed the 10 million divine crystals and the divine skill to Lu Ming. Lu Ming had earned a huge sum of money again. Many people were green with envy. Who else? Come up and fight. After Lu Ming put away his spoils of war, he scanned his surroundings. The entire place fell silent. No one spoke. The geniuses on the virtual god ranking list shut their mouths. What a joke. If Scorpion Tiger lost, they would definitely lose if they went up. Lu Ming asked a few times but no one went up. That was because none of the top 50 on the virtual god ranking list had come. These people were either out for training, on missions, or cultivating in seclusion. Some of them would not have come to watch the life and death battle between Lu Ming and Dongfang Hao even if they had known about it. Dongfang Hao, a new disciple, was not enough to pique their curiosity. Therefore, no one dared to fight now. Since no one wants to fight, then let's leave today's matter at that. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the spear. He thanked the 3 law enforcement elders and turned into a ray of light, leaving the place. A group of people were left behind, gritting their teeth. Lu Ming did not return to his residence. Instead, he flew straight to the inner sect area. It was no longer safe to stay in the outer sect area. He would definitely be targeted. Therefore, Lu Ming decided to come to the inner sect area. Lu Ming took out 10 million divine crystals and exchanged them for 10,000 points when he arrived at the inner gate area. He then entered the Divine Pulse Tower. In the Divine Pulse Tower, Lu Ming sat cross-legged, absorbing the divine qi from the outer sect to recover his divine energy. The divine energy here was very rich. Not long after, Lu Ming had recovered to his peak state. After he recovered to his peak state, Lu Ming waved his hand and a scroll appeared. This scroll was the King-grade wondrous technique that Lu Ming had obtained from Huang Qingan. Lu Ming opened it and took a look. Divine Ice Formula. When he opened it, he saw the name of this wondrous technique. Lu Ming took a closer look. This was a very ordinary King-grade divine skill. It had 7 levels in total, and when one cultivated to the 7th level, one would be able to cultivate the King-grade divine power, the Ice Divine Power. The Ice Divine Power was one of the more common ones among King-grade divine powers. However, Lu Ming did not care. As long as it was King-grade divine power, it would be useful to Lu Ming. Lu Ming immediately started to study it carefully. A few days later, Lu Ming began to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been in the Divine Pulse Tower for half a month. For half a month, Lu Ming had been comprehending and cultivating the Divine Ice Formula. After half a month of cultivation, Lu Ming had finally cultivated a trace of the Divine Ice Power. And NBSP, a wisp of ice divine power mixed with the ruler divine power, flowed through his meridians. I've succeeded. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He immediately gave up on circulating the Divine Ice Formula and began to circulate the Universe Thousand Tao Formula. The wisp of divine ice power completely fused with the ruler's strength in an instant and became one. A few more days passed, said. In Lu Ming's dantian, a spot of light suddenly lit up near the divine fire. As time passed, said, the light became brighter and brighter. Slowly, it became a wisp of divine fire. Another divine flame appeared. This was the second divine flame. 2 divine flames had actually appeared in a person's dantian. If this was known by others, they would be scared to death. According to the general knowledge of cultivation in the prehistoric universe, one person could only light up one divine fire. It was absolutely impossible to light up a second divine fire. However, Lu Ming had done it. He really ignited the second divine fire. This universe thousand Dao art is really amazing. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Jing Yu had obtained the universal Dao incantation from a heritage site, and even he didn't know its origins. Chapter 2688 Sutra Library, continue. Lu Ming closed his eyes and focused on cultivation. Now, the divine ice formula was no longer of much use to Lu Ming. He just had to continue cultivating the universe thousand Dao formula, and that wisp of divine ice fire would slowly grow stronger. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. During this year, Lu Ming had been cultivating wholeheartedly. The frost divine fire had finally grown to the size of the ruler's divine fire. In his dantian, 2 divine flames were burning. It was extremely mysterious. At this moment, Lu Ming ended his cultivation. Buzz! Lu Ming waved his hand and circulated the ice divine power. A long spear made of ice appeared in his hand, exuding a bone-chilling cold. Now I don't have to worry about others discovering my ruler's divine power. Lu Ming smiled. Now, Lu Ming could use the ice divine power alone. Although it was far less powerful than the ruler's divine power, it was very practical to fool people. Moreover, once Lu Ming used the god's divine power, the ice divine power would explode together with the god's divine power. The strength of Lu Ming's divine power was 20% stronger than before. Don't look down on 20%. A 20% increase in strength was already very shocking. In the future, Lu Ming could continue to cultivate other divine powers. In the future, when the number of divine powers increased and they were stacked, the power would be very shocking. Lu Ming was very satisfied. I've just cultivated 2 types of divine power. It's not a good time to continue breaking through the realm. I'd better consolidate and polish my skills before coming to the Divine Pulse Tower to cultivate. Lu Ming pondered. 1 day of cultivation in the Divine Pulse Tower would cost 1 point, which was equivalent to 10,000 divine crystals. Although Lu Ming was rich now and controlled more than 200 million divine crystals, he did not want to waste it. In the past year, he had spent nearly 400 points. That was 4 million divine crystals. In the past, Lu Ming would not have been able to afford it. It's said that there are a large number of divine skills, divine techniques, and even secret skills in the scripture library in the inner court. All of them can be exchanged with points. Let's go and have a look. At the thought of this, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He planned to exchange for a few more divine techniques to cultivate. Sharpening a knife would not delay the work of cutting wood. Although it would take some time to cultivate the divine technique, this time would not be wasted. As long as he cultivated divine fire, as Lu Ming's cultivation level increased in the future, the divine fire and divine power would also increase. If he were to wait for Lu Ming's cultivation to improve before he cultivated other divine techniques and powers, it would take him more time to cultivate the divine fire he had just cultivated to the size of the Dominator divine fire. His current cultivation level was still low, and the amount of time he had to spend was still little. After he had successfully cultivated it, he could raise his cultivation level in the future. This was the best strategy. Lu Ming left the Divine Pulse Tower and walked toward the scripture chamber. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the scriptures depository. The Sutras depository was a huge pavilion. It was 5 stories high and extremely wide. There were naturally people guarding the scripture chamber, and they were all extremely terrifying powerhouses. However, Lu Ming took out his gold token and entered the scripture chamber smoothly. So many, Lu Ming's eyes widened when he arrived at the first level. What came into view were shelves. At a glance, there were at least a few hundred shelves, and on each shelf was a divine skill. They were either in the form of jade talismans or scrolls, but they were all protected by a formation. Only with the permission of the guardian of the scripture chamber could they be taken out. There was an introduction under the shelf. Lu Ming looked at them one by one. They were all divine skills, but they were relatively low level. Most of them were between the first and third levels. Lu Ming took a look and did not see any that were above the fourth level. Then, Lu Ming went to the second level. The second level was also filled with godly skills, but they were of a higher level. Many of them were level 4 or level 5 godly skills. Lu Ming looked around. Other than the godly skills, he did not find any other amazing techniques or secret skills. Lu Ming walked around and arrived at the third level. On the third floor, the number of divine skills was much, much less. They were all divine skills of the 6th or 7th tier. And NBSP, the value of such a divine skill was already astonishing. Normally, only advanced true gods or heavenly gods could cultivate it and unleash its power. Similarly, there were no secret skills or divine arts on this floor. Lu Ming's goal was not the divine skill. He shook his head and went to the fourth level. The collection on the fourth floor was even less. However, they were all divine skills of the 7th and 8th levels, and there were only a few dozen of them. Great Sun God Technique. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He had finally found a divine technique. This divine technique was called the Great Sun Divine Technique. It was also a king-grade divine technique and had more mystical points than the Ice Divine Technique. The Great Sun Divine Power cultivated from it was also stronger than the Ice Divine Power. Finally, there's a divine technique. Lu Ming was overjoyed and looked through them one by one. He saw more than a dozen king-grade divine arts and techniques, all of which could cultivate king-grade divine power. Each of them had their own mysteries. However, the points required to exchange for it were shockingly high. The lowest required 1,000 points, while the highest required 5,000 points. 1,000 points were equivalent to 10 million divine gems. For example, the Great Sun Shin technique required 3,000 points. They're really valuable. Even if I use up all my divine crystals, I can't even exchange for a few. Lu Ming sighed. After watching for a while, Lu Ming was not in a hurry to make a move. He looked at the 5th level. If a king-grade wondrous art had appeared on the 4th floor, what kind of treasure would appear on the 5th floor? Would there be a saint-grade divine art? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He then stepped onto the 5th level. Ninefold divine skill, and a secret technique. There were even fewer godly skills on the 5th floor, only a dozen or so. Moreover, the points required for each step were shockingly high. 300,000 points. Even the cheapest level 9 divine skill cost 300,000 points, which was equivalent to 3 billion divine gems. Not to mention a true god, even a heavenly god would find it difficult to take out so many divine crystals. Lu Ming gasped. He could only look at the number of points. Next, Lu Ming looked at a few secret skills. Amazing, truly amazing. At one glance, Lu Ming could not help but sigh, his eyes burning with Pa-S, Shaun. Secret techniques were different from divine skills. Secret skills had all kinds of mysteries. Once they were successfully cultivated, they would accompany the cultivator for the rest of his life and would improve as the cultivator's cultivation level increased. For example, there were some secret skills that, after cultivation, would increase one's combat power by several times when they were used. This was somewhat similar to the battle formula. However, the battle formula was even more mysterious. Some secret skills, after cultivation, would have all kinds of strange effects, and their power was even more shocking than divine skills. However, there were too few secret skills, and many of them had very harsh conditions to cultivate. Therefore, very few people had successfully cultivated a secret skill. The 5th floor contained a few secret techniques, but there was very little introduction, only a few strokes. However, the marked price made Lu Ming gasp. The cheapest secret skill cost 100,000 points, and the most expensive one cost 2 million points. Chapter 2690 News about Yuexin. Lu Ming was completely speechless. Originally, he had made a fortune this time and thought that he had become a rich man. Now, he found that he was still poor. It's a pity that there aren't any saint-grade divine skills. Lu Ming looked through the books but did not see any divine-grade techniques. He shook his head in pity. The saint-grade divine art was the Kong Xian sex divine art. Only a few people had the right to cultivate it, so it was normal that there were no such people here. I'd better exchange for a few king-grade divine arts and techniques to cultivate first. Lu Ming thought to himself. As for divine skills, he had the ninefold crimson gold armor and the 3 apocalyptic strikes, which were enough for now. He didn't need to exchange for anything else. As for the secret skills, although Lu Ming was very excited, the price was too expensive. He could not afford to exchange for them and could only give up. However, he didn't have enough points on him now. He had to go and exchange some points first, then come here to exchange for the king-grade divine skill. Lu Ming left the scriptures depository and went to the points exchange area. He took out 150 million divine crystals and exchanged them for 15,000 points. Then, he went to the scriptures depository again. This is the Golden Dragon Divine Technique and this is the Great Sun Divine Technique. Lu Ming had his eyes on the 2 divine techniques. The Golden Dragon Divine Technique required 5,000 points, and the Great Sun Divine Technique required 3,000 points. Lu Ming decided to exchange for these 2 temporarily. "Senior, I want to exchange for a king-grade divine skill," Lu Ming said to an elder when they arrived at the main entrance of the scripture chamber. "Exchange for divine techniques? The price of a king-grade wondrous technique is not cheap. Which one do you want to exchange for?" The old man sized up the interior and revealed a trace of curiosity. Lu Ming's cultivation level could not be hidden from him. He could tell at a glance that Lu Ming was at the 4th level of the Void God Realm. How could an ethereal God Realm 4th level cultivator have so many points to exchange for a king-grade technique? "Senior, I would like to exchange for the Golden Dragon Divine Technique and the Great Sun Divine Technique." Lu Ming nodded. "What? You want to exchange for 2? The old man was truly shocked. Then, he said with a straight face, "Kid, you only need to cultivate 1 king-grade wondrous technique. It's useless to exchange for 2. I know that I don't exchange for it for my own cultivation. There's one that I exchange for others," Lu Ming said. Of course, he couldn't say that he had cultivated it himself. "Alright, since that's the case, I won't say anything more. These 2 divine techniques are a total of 8,000 points," the old man said. "Senior, this is my ident. Tai token." Lu Ming said his ident. Tai token to the old man. The old man took it and swiped it on an array disc. 8,000 points were immediately deducted. This little guy actually has so many points. The old man was also slightly surprised, and then said, "Wait for me here. I'll go get the 2 divine techniques." The old man stood up and entered the scripture chamber. Not long after, he came back with 2 scrolls and handed them to Lu Ming. They were the 2 divine techniques. Lu Ming was overjoyed as he kept it. He left the sutra library and headed straight for the Divine Pulse Tower. After entering the Divine Pulse Tower, Lu Ming devoted himself to the cultivation of the 2 divine techniques. These 2 divine techniques were indeed more profound than the Ice God technique. The Shin power cultivated would also be stronger. Of course, the difficulty of cultivation was also greater. Lu Ming spent a few months and successfully cultivated 2 divine fires. However, the divine flame was rather dim and needed time to slowly strengthen. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been in the Divine Pulse Tower for 5 years. After 5 years, Lu Ming had finally cultivated the 2 divine flames to the size of the divine flames of domination. Moreover, When the two divine flames were cultivated to the size of the divine flames of domination, Lu Ming actually broke through in one go and his cultivation level rose to 5th level void god level. My ability to challenge those of higher cultivation levels is much stronger than before. Lu Ming smiled. Now, if he used his ruler's divine power, the other divine powers would fuse with it, and when it exploded, its power would be even more astonishing. I've been cultivating for so long, let's go out for a walk. Lu Ming smiled. He ended his cultivation and walked out of the Divine Pulse Tower. After staying for such a long time, Lu Ming's points had decreased by nearly 2,000 points. In addition to the points that he exchanged for the wondrous techniques, Lu Ming only had about 5,000 points left from the 15,000 points that he had exchanged. This is the inner sect area. I can ask around about the Yuexin that the ancestor of technique is looking for. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Back then, the ancestor of technique had given him a dagger and asked him to bring it to Yuexin. In the past, Lu Ming was in the outer sect area and could not find it at all. However, now that Lu Ming could freely enter and exit the inner sect area, he could search for it. Who are you looking for? Lu Ming pondered and his eyes suddenly lit up. He thought of Yu Linglong. Lu Ming immediately took out his voice transmission jade talisman and sent a message to Yu Linglong. To his surprise, he received a reply not long after. Yu Linglong told him to wait for her outside the Divine Pulse Tower and she would be there in a while. Not long after, a ray of light flew over and a figure landed in front of Lu Ming. You actually took so long to contact me? Yu Linglong cast a sidelong glance at Lu Ming. I've been so busy with cultivation that I forgot. Lu Ming smiled awkwardly. Why are you looking for me now? Yu Linglong asked, blinking her eyes. I want to ask you about someone. I don't know anyone in the inner sect, so I'm asking you first. Lu Ming said. I knew you were looking for me. Tell me, who do you want to know? I know everything in the inner court. You found the right person to ask me about it. Yu Linglong said smugly. I want to ask, do you know this person called Yuexin? Lu Ming asked. Yuexin. Yu Linglong's eyes suddenly widened. She took a few careful glances at Lu Ming and asked curiously, why are you looking for Yuexin? Are you her illegitimate child? Towards the end of her sentence, Yu Linglong's eyes lit up as if she had discovered something new. Lu Ming was speechless. What was this girl thinking? Please don't make wild guesses. I'm only here to find Yuexin on someone's request. Yu Linglong said. You're really not an illegitimate child? Yu Linglong seemed unwilling to give up and asked again. Lu Ming's eyelids kept twitching. He held it in for a while and gritted his teeth. Absolutely not. Oh, then why did someone ask you to look for Yuexin? Yu Linglong asked again. Bring an item and a word. Lu Ming said. Oh. Could the person who entrusted you to be Yuexin's old lover? Yu Linglong blinked her eyes. The fire of gossip was burning. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This girl was right. However, his expression did not change as he said, I don't know about that. You've been asking so many questions. Do you know who Yuexin is? Of course I know. Yuexin is my aunt. How can I not know? Yu Linglong pouted. Chapter 2691 Saint Grade Divine Art Aunt. Aunt? Lu Ming was flabbergasted. He had never expected that the Yuexin that the ancestor of technique was looking for was actually Yu Linglong's aunt. This was too much of a coincidence. Is she really your aunt? Lu Ming asked again. He felt that this problem lady was not very reliable. Of course it's my aunt. If you don't believe me, I'll take you to her now. Yu Linglong pouted, her face full of pride. She turned around and flew off in a certain direction. Lu Ming hurriedly followed. In the inner court of Kongxian sect, there were a few huge mountain ranges that were intertwined with each other. There were countless strange peaks and it was vast and boundless. They flew for a while, and Yu Linglong flew towards a mountain peak. At the peak of the mountain, clouds and mist lingered, and flowers bloomed. It was a beautiful sight. In the distance, a bamboo forest could be seen. In front of the bamboo forest was a lake, and in the middle of the bamboo forest and the lake was a building. At this moment, in a pavilion by the lake, a woman was sprinkling some golden grains into the lake. Immediately, golden carps jumped out of the lake and fought for the grains. "Aunt," Yu Linglong shouted from afar. The woman turned around and revealed her face. What a beautiful woman. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The woman looked to be in her 30s, but she was still as beautiful as ever. She was a rare beauty. This is Yuexin. Lu Ming had a thought. It's you, girl. Why did you think of coming here today? The woman said with a smile. Aunt, I miss you. I'm here to see you. Yu Linglong said with a smile. I still don't know you well, girl. Tell me, why have you come to find me? The woman said. It was obvious that this woman was Yuexin. Aunt, I'm really here to see you. I'm here to do a small thing. Yu Linglong stuck out her tongue guiltily. She then looked at Lu Ming and said, It's him, he said he has something to tell you. Is there something you need me for? Yuexin looked at Lu Ming curiously. May I ask if you are Yuexin, senior? Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. That's right. I'm Yuexin. Why are you looking for me? Yuexin said. Senior, it's like this. I was entrusted with a task to bring you something. Lu Ming took out the dagger that the ancestor of technique had given him. This is, at the sight of the dagger Lu Ming took out, Yuexin's delicate body trembled. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions as she reminisced about the past. After a long time, Yuexin let out a long sigh and said, Is the person who gave you the dagger called a Fei Ming? Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. He. What else did he say? Yuexin asked again. He said that he was the one who let you down. Lu Ming repeated the ancestor of technique's words. Yuexin's body trembled even more, and her eyes became misty. After a long time, she sighed again and said, He didn't do anything wrong. I did him wrong. The next time you see him, tell him this. I'll keep this dagger. Go. In the end, Yuexin took the dagger, waved her hand, and walked toward a house. Her figure was a little lonely. What's going on? Lu Ming felt that things were a little complicated. Lu Ming, what happened? What's going on? It seems that my guess was right, it was indeed Aunt's old lover who came to find you. After Yuexin left, the fire of gossip burned in Yu Linglong's eyes. She stared at Lu Ming curiously. Let's go, we'll talk after we leave. Lu Ming said and walked outside. Yu Linglong followed closely behind and asked a bunch of questions. I finally know. Back then, grandfather wanted Aunt to get married, but Aunt seemed to be unwilling. In the end, she even caused quite a big storm. Yu Linglong said. Your aunt is married? Lu Ming was stunned. Yeah, it caused quite a stir back then, but my grandfather managed to suppress it in the end. However, I only heard about it because I wasn't even born at that time. Yu Linglong said. No wonder. Lu Ming finally understood why Yuexin said that she was the one who had let the ancestor of technique down. The ancestor of technique had always missed Yuexin, but Yuexin was already married. AI. Lu Ming also sighed. He did not know how to tell the ancestor of technique about this the next time he saw him. This was the reality, and reality was so helpless. Lu Ming shook his head and put this matter aside. He had already fulfilled his promise to the ancestor of technique. As for other things, he could not do anything about it. By the way, I have something to ask you. Do you know how to cultivate the Saint-grade divine technique of the Kong Xian sect? Lu Ming asked. You want to cultivate a saint-grade divine art? This will be a little difficult. First, you'll have to enter the true God stage and become an inner sect disciple. Then, you'll have to display your top talent and pass a series of tests to prove that you're loyal to the Kongxian sect and not a spy sent by other sections. Only then will you be taught. Yu Linglong said. It's so difficult. Lu Ming was speechless. It's just that difficult. You should know that there are only 2 divine grade techniques in the entire Kongxian sect. As the sect's treasure, the conditions for learning the complete divine grade technique are too harsh. At most, you can only learn the incomplete one. Yu Linglong said. Incomplete? Where can I learn something incomplete? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When he cultivated other divine techniques, he did not need a complete one. Even an incomplete one would do. He only needed to cultivate a wisp of Shen power. You can exchange for it in the Sutra Library. You just have to ask the elders who guard the Sutra Library. However, the price is shockingly high. There are 12 levels to the saint-grade divine skill. The first level costs 50,000 points, and the second level costs 100,000 points. The price keeps on doubling. The point is that it's not very useful without a complete one. Yu Linglong said. I can exchange for it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did not need the complete one at all. He only needed the first level. After cultivating the first level, he would be able to cultivate a wisp of divine power and light the divine fire. This was enough for Lu Ming. But then, he sighed. The first level already required 50,000 points. This price was simply outrageously high. Even if he exchanged all his remaining god crystals for points, he would only get a little more than 10,000 points. He was still far from enough. Kongxian sect, where can I earn points? Lu Ming asked again. The place to earn points is, of course, the mission hall. The sect will issue a series of missions. As long as you complete the missions inside, you can get points. However, I suggest that you don't take any missions. It's not worth it. Yu Linglong said. Why? Lu Ming asked. That's because there's a level limit to the missions you can take on. You're an outer disciple now, so you can only take on the lowest level of missions. Those missions are usually time-consuming and laborious, and the rewards are very low. Many of them only reward 1 point, 2 points, and no more than 10 points. Yu Linglong said. Lu Ming was speechless. He only got 1 or 2 points for a mission. How long would it take him to get 50,000 points? Chapter 2692 Opportunity to earn points. However, if you want to earn points quickly, you'll soon have a once-in-lifetime opportunity. Yu Linglong suddenly smiled. What chance? Lu Ming asked. The Dark Dragon's Secret Realm. In a few days, the Dark Dragon's Secret Realm will open. As long as we enter the Dark Dragon's Secret Realm and obtain some treasures, we will be able to exchange them for a large number of points. Yu Linglong said. Dark Dragon's Secret Realm? Lu Ming was curious. This was the first time he had heard of it. That's right. The Dark Dragon's Secret Realm only opens once every 100,000 years. Moreover, only those below the true God realm can enter. Therefore, this is a heaven for the outer disciples. At that time, all the powerful outer disciples will enter. There are 2 main types of treasures in the Dark Dragon's Secret Realm. One is the Dark Dragon Beast, and the other is the Dragon Bone Flower. As long as you get the heart of the Dark Dragon Beast or the Dragon Bone of the Dragon Bone Flower, you can exchange it for a large number of points. In the past, a heart of a beast or a dragon bone of the Dragon Bone Flower could be exchanged for 100 points. Yu Linglong said. 100 points. Lu Ming was shocked. 100 points were equivalent to 1 million divine gems. This price was extremely shocking. If he could get 100 beast cores or 100 dragon bones from the Dragon Bone Flower, he would have 10,000 points. If it was 500? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If that was the case, he would have enough points to exchange for the first stage of the divine grade technique. Yeah, the reward is so amazing that even many inner disciples are jealous, but they can't get in. Let me tell you, on the outer virtual god ranking list, there are actually many people who could have reached the true god realm a long time ago, but they have been suppressing their cultivation, waiting for the dark dragon's secret land that only happens once every 100,000 years. This is a good opportunity to make a lot of money. How is it? It will open in 3 days, do you want to go together? Yu Linglong said. Yes, of course I'm going. Lu Ming said. He would be a fool not to go. Then let's wait for a few days. Well, go in a few days. Yu Linglong said. Then, the two of them went to the Divine Pulse Tower and cultivated for a few days. 3 days later, Lu Ming and Yu Linglong flew out of the inner sect area and headed toward the outer sect area. The entrance to the Dark Dragon's secret realm was located in a huge palace in the outer gate area. This palace was usually closed. It would only open when the Dark Dragon's secret realm was about to open. In the past few days, Lu Ming had gained a more detailed understanding of the Dark Dragon's secret realm. The primeval universe was vast and boundless. It was the greater world and the most perfect and stable world. Around it, there would be some small kiliacosm, such as the heaven realm and the primordial realm. At the same time, there would also be some mystic realms. These secret lands were of a higher level than many small kiliacosm, and they were closely attached to the primal universe. The beings of the small kiliacosm could only reach the demigod realm. If they wanted to continue, they had to enter the primal universe. However, some secret realms could give birth to gods or even stronger existences. The Dark Dragon's secret realm was one such secret realm. When Lu Ming and Yu Linglong arrived, they discovered that there was already a sea of people outside the palace. Countless outer sect disciples had gathered. It's Lu Ming. Many people recognized Lu Ming the moment he arrived. Back then, Lu Ming had made a name for himself by defeating 3 geniuses on the virtual god ranking list in a row. His reputation had long spread in the outer sect. This brat also wants to enter the Dark Dragon's secret realm. That's good. I'll get rid of him in there. Some people snorted coldly in their hearts, their eyes like cold lightning. Moreover, there were many people who had such thoughts. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. And NBSP at this moment, several white-haired elders flew over from the distance and descended before the palace. The inner sect elder is here, the door is about to open. Many people were excited. Many of them could break through to the true god realm, but they had to stay at the peak of ethereal god realm. They were waiting for the Dark Dragon's secret land to open so that they could get some benefits. A total of 3 inner sect elders landed in front of the palace gate. Then, they waved their palms with divine power and 3 rays of divine power struck the palace gate. Boom! 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 The palace's door glowed and rumbled as it slowly opened. However, there was still a layer of light barrier on the door. In the Dark Dragon's secret realm, the Dark Dragon Beast and the Dragon Bone Flower are both very powerful. Those with weak cultivation and insufficient combat strength will not only fail to obtain the Beast Core and Dragon Bone, but will also die. Therefore, only those who can break through this light screen can enter the Dark Dragon's secret realm. Now, you can all go. Remember, you only have 3 months. After 3 months, you must return to this place. Otherwise, you will be locked up inside. An inner court elder announced. Let's go. Immediately, a group of outer sect disciples rushed to the gate. The gate was 100 meters tall and dozens of meters wide. It could easily accommodate hundreds of people. Boom! Boom! The group of outer sect disciples each launched a powerful attack, bombarding the light shield of the gate, causing it to shake violently. However, most of the people were blocked. Only a few people managed to break through the light shield and enter it. They disappeared in a flash. Damn it, I don't believe it. Break. Someone roared and used his strongest combat power, but he still couldn't break the light shield. You're a piece of trash. Don't block the way. Behind them, other people rushed over and shouted loudly. Their divine power rolled out, wanting to blast away the people in front. You're the useless one. The person in front was furious and brazenly attacked. However, after exchanging a blow with the person behind him, he spat out a large mouthful of blood and crashed into the light barrier. His face turned pale. Dongfang Hao, the man's face was pale. The one who had attacked him was Dongfang Hao. Trash, get lost, shut up. Dongfang Hao snorted coldly. He struck out a palm, which pierced through the light screen and entered the hall. Those who can't break the light shield, get out of the way. Don't block the way. An inner elder's voice rang out. With a wave of his hand, waves of energy rolled out and sent those who could not break the light shield flying. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. There were people constantly moving forward, breaking the light shield and entering the hall. Anyone with the combat strength of a 9th level Void God realm can break it. At this moment, Lu Ming had already seen through the trick. As long as one had the combat strength of a 9th level Void God realm martial artist, they would be able to break the light shield. Lu Ming, let's go in quickly. Yu Linglong cried out and flew forward. Lu Ming followed suit and came to the front of the light shield of the door. Yu Linglong waved her palm, and the light shield collapsed like a wave. With a flash, she entered the light shield. Lu Ming threw a punch, penetrating the light shield and entering it. Behind the door was a huge, empty hall. In the middle of the hall was a huge black vortex. This was the entrance to the Dark Dragon's secret realm. The two of them dashed into the vortex in a flash. The world spun around them. The next moment, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared on a piece of yellow land with Yu Linglong by his side. Let's go and hunt for the Nether Dragon Beast and the Dragon Bone Flower. 3 months will pass in the blink of an eye. Yu Linglong said. The two of them turned into a rainbow light and flew into the distance. Chapter 2693 Powerful Combat Power. The Yulong's secret realm was vast and boundless. Lu Ming did not know how big it was, but he felt that it was at least much bigger than the Heaven Realm, the Primordial Realm, and the Evil God Realm combined. The two of them flew for a few hours, but they did not encounter anything. What they saw was a vast expanse of yellow earth. The two of us are too unlucky. When we entered, we were actually teleported to this yellow land. This yellow land is completely barren, and there are no nether dragon beasts or dragon bone flowers. Yu Linglong said with a bitter face. Lu Ming was a little depressed, but he had no choice but to hurry along with his bad luck. After flying for another 2 hours, mountain peaks gradually appeared in front of them. Roar! 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 Roars could be heard from the mountains. It's the Nether Dragon. Yu Linglong's eyes lit up. The two of them increased their speed and flew toward the mountain peak. However, at this moment, streaks of light also appeared from other directions, flying towards the same mountain peaks. They were the other outer sect disciples. Lu Ming swept his gaze and discovered more than 10 people. Let's increase our speed. Yu Linglong shouted as she circulated her divine power. It was as if she was covered in a layer of 7-colored light. Boom! At this moment, a few powerful auras came from the sky. The pressure was like a tide, pressing in all directions, shrouding Lu Ming and some other outer sect disciples. It was extremely overbearing. Then, 2 young people, a man and a woman, descended and blocked in front of everyone. The Nether Dragon in this area belongs to the two of us. You guys can leave. The man said coldly. He glanced at Lu Ming and the rest with an arrogant look. Moreover, his tone was full of threat. It was as if the others had to do as he said. It's Lu Yang who's ranked 35th and Fangya who's ranked 37th on the virtual god ranking. Someone exclaimed as he recognized the two of them. How can we be so unlucky to have met the two of them the moment we arrived? It seems that we can only leave. The other outer sect disciples' faces were ugly, but they were also filled with helplessness. Those who could enter the Dark Dragon's secret realm were all at the 9th level of Ethereal God Realm. However, he only had the combat strength of a 9th level Ethereal God Realm expert. Compared to the supreme talents on the Ethereal God Realm, he was still far from them. Especially the top 50 on the virtual god ranking list. Each of them had amazing combat strength and could survive against a LV1 true god expert. It was said that the top 30 heaven's favorites could even fight against a first-stage true god. Although Lu Yang and Fangya were only ranked 35th and 37th, they were a couple and were good at joint attacks. If they joined forces, they could fight against the top 30 heaven's pride experts. Normal 9th level Void God Realm experts were far weaker than them. The other outer sect disciples also slowly retreated, despite their unwillingness. However, Lu Ming and Yu Linglong did not retreat at all. Why aren't you guys leaving? Lu Yang looked at Lu Ming and Yu Linglong, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. Retreat? Why should we retreat? Since we've encountered the Nether Dragon, we'll have to rely on our own abilities to obtain the Nether Dragon's beast core. Lu Ming said indifferently. Kid, you're very confident. Lu Yang's gaze turned even colder. He said, the Dark Dragon's secret realm is no longer within the sect. Killing is not forbidden. Do you understand? This was a blatant threat. His meaning was obvious. If Lu Ming did not retreat, he would stay here forever. You talk too much nonsense. Either get lost or attack. Lu Ming stepped forward and berated him directly. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on the other party. He did not have much time. A dark dragon core or the dragon bone of the dragon bone flower were both points and money. If Lu Ming wanted to exchange for the divine grade technique, he would have to wait for a few months. He did not have time to waste with the other party. You're looking for death. Lu Yang shouted coldly. He pointed his finger at Lu Ming like a sword. A beam of sword light burst out from his finger. It was incomparably sharp. It let out a terrifying howl and charged towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. His divine energy was boiling and it hit Lu Yang's finger. Kacha! Lu Yang's fingers were broken and twisted into a twisted shape. His face turned into the color of a pig's liver. With a blood-curdling scream, he retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. What? The other outer sect disciples who had already retreated opened their mouths wide in shock when they saw this scene. After the clash, Lu Yang was actually the one who was defeated. I recognize him. It's Lu Ming. He's Lu Ming. Someone shouted. What? He's Lu Ming, the one who defeated Dongfang Hao, Huang Chengan, and the Scorpion Tiger in succession? That's right, it's him, terrifying. It's only been a few years, and he's gotten stronger again. The others exclaimed. You are Lu Ming. Lu Yang's expression was extremely ferocious as he stared at Lu Ming. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Alright, I'd like to see what you're capable of. Fangya, let's join forces. Lu Yang called out. Alright. In a flash, Fangya appeared beside Lu Yang. Buzz. Buzz. Two sword hums resounded. Lu Yang and Fangya unsheathed their swords. Two beams of sword light shot up into the sky. Then, the two beams of sword light intertwined and charged towards Lu Ming. The sword momentum was continuous, and the power was astonishing. The two of them were much stronger than the Scorpion Tiger back then. However, Lu Ming's combat strength was not what it used to be. In the past few years, he had cultivated 3 king-grade divine techniques and cultivated 3 divine flames. His divine power had increased by a large margin. In addition, His cultivation had already broken through to the 5th level of the Void God realm, so he was much stronger than when he had fought Xiaohu and the others. Buzz! Lu Ming took out his long spear and swept it out. This spear attack didn't use the 3 apocalyptic strikes. It only used an incomplete divine skill. The spear radiance and the sword radiance collided with each other in an intense battle. Clang! 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 The sound of the collision was like a thunderclap. After more than 10 consecutive collisions, Lu Yang and Fang Ye retreated 1,000 meters before they stopped. The two of them were pale and blood kept flowing out of the corners of their mouths. A hole had appeared on both of their bodies, and it was clear that they had been pierced by Lu Ming's long spear. This time, they'll let you go. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Lu Yang's and Fang Ya's expressions were ugly. However, there was deep shock in their eyes. They understood that they were not Lu Ming's match at all. Let's go. The two of them turned into 2 streaks of light and left. He's so strong. Lu Ming is so strong. Lu Yang and Fang Ye joined forces, but they are not his match. It's only been 5 or 6 years, but his strength has improved greatly again. I'm afraid his current combat strength can rank in the top 30, no, even the top 20 of the virtual god level. The outer sect disciples who had witnessed the fight between Lu Ming and Fang Ye from Lu Yang were all in shock. You want to stay here and compete with me? At that moment, Lu Ming's gaze swept across the outer sect disciples. The outer sect disciples' expressions changed. What a joke. Competing with Lu Ming? Was he not courting death? Immediately, they all flew away with their tails between their legs. Chapter 2694 Nether Dragon's Weakness. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Yu Linglong looked at Lu Ming, her face filled with shock. Although she knew that Lu Ming was not weak, she did not expect him to be this powerful. Let's go and hunt the Nether Dragon. Lu Ming smiled and flew toward the mountains. Roar! Roar! When the two of them neared the mountain peaks, a few Nether Dragon beasts appeared. The Nether Dragon beast looked like a tiger. It was 5 meters tall and 10 meters long. Its body was covered in pitch-black scales. There were 2 dragon horns on its head, and it had a wild aura. Roar! Roar! The Nether Dragon beasts roared and stomped their hind legs, turning into a few black streams of light that pounced toward Lu Ming and Yu Linglong. So fast! Lu Ming's heart trembled. He shook his long spear and stabbed a few times in succession. A few spearlights pierced through the 3 Nether Dragon beasts' foreheads. Ding! 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 The long spear struck the Nether Dragon beasts' foreheads, producing a metallic clang and sparks flying in all directions. The 3 Nether Dragon beasts were forced to retreat by Lu Ming's attack. However, Lu Ming also felt a huge wave of energy surging along the long spear, shaking his arm until it was slightly numb. What shocking strength! Lu Ming was slightly shocked. He could sense that these Nether Dragon beasts were all at the 9th level of the Void God realm, but they were shockingly powerful. Given Lu Ming's current abilities, there were not many virtual god-level powerhouses who could make his arm numb. What shocked Lu Ming even more was that after the 3 Nether Dragon beasts were forced back, they shook their heads and were completely fine. What an amazing defense! If it were any other 9th level Void God-level wild beast, it would definitely have a few more holes in it and die on the spot after being stabbed by Lu Ming's spear. Roar! 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 The 3 Nether Dragon beasts roared. Then, a few more Nether Dragon beasts appeared from the mountains. They were filled with killing intent as they pounced. Kill! Lu Ming charged over as well. He circulated his ruler's divine power with all his might. The 4 divine flames in his body burned fiercely. The 3 types of king-grade divine power merged with the ruler's divine power, bursting forth with astonishing power. The nether dragon beast howled and clawed at Lu Ming with its blade-like claws. The wind whistled and it was extremely terrifying. Bang! 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 The two sides continued to clash. Lu Ming was still stronger. His long spear struck the three nether dragon beasts, and 15 layers of strength continued to burst forth, sending the three nether dragon beasts flying. However, after the nether dragon was sent flying, it shook its head and body as if nothing had happened. This strength, Lu Ming was shocked. The nether dragon beast's abilities had completely exceeded his expectations. It was no wonder that the inner sect elders had said that the nether dragon beast core, the dragon bone flower, was very powerful and that only those who had broken through the light screens could enter. Lu Ming concluded that even if they had the combat strength of a 9th-level ethereal god realm, they were far from being a match for the nether dragon beast. To kill the nether dragon beast, at least many people had to work together. On the other side, Yu Linglong was also fighting with a few nether dragon beasts. A soft whip appeared in Yu Linglong's hand. As she waved the soft whip, the sky was filled with whip shadows, trapping the nether dragon beasts in the middle. What powerful strength! Yu Linglong's abilities had also exceeded Lu Ming's expectations. Yu Linglong's cultivation base was at 9th tier virtual god level, but Lu Ming felt that Yu Linglong was not weaker than many of the top talents on the virtual god ranking list. However, Yu Linglong's status was not ordinary. She was not an outer sect disciple, but lived directly in the inner sect. Kong Xian's sect had many such examples. Many of the descendants of the important figures were directly trained in the inner sect and would not join the outer sect. Naturally, they would not enter the void god rank, but their strength was still very shocking. Roar! Roar! The nether dragon beast let out a furious roar as it was continuously sent flying by Lu Ming. Its murderous aura soared to the sky, and a layer of black flames covered its body. It glared at Lu Ming, then pounced at him again. Boom! 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 The two sides engaged in an intense battle. However, the nether dragon beast's defense was too shocking. It was hit by Lu Ming's attacks continuously, but it seemed to be fine. Lu Ming could not break through its defense at all. In terms of strength, Lu Ming could easily crush the nether dragon beasts, but he could not break through their defenses and was difficult to kill. That's not right. There must be a weakness somewhere. As long as we can find that weakness, we'll be able to kill it. Lu Ming's mind was racing. If there were no flaws, then how did the people who entered 100,000 or 200,000 years ago kill them? If they could not even kill Lu Ming, then there would not be many people below the true god level who could. At the thought of this, Lu Ming began to probe. The spear was thrust at different parts of the nether dragon beast. Finally, after hundreds of attempts, Lu Ming finally found the nether dragon beast's weakness. Pfft! Lu Ming's spear pierced through the nether dragon's neck. The nether dragon roared as blood flowed out of its body. It then fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and died. The neck was the nether dragon beast's vital point. Yu Linglong, attack their necks! Lu Ming shouted. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Yu Linglong's attack changed. The soft whip became hard and stabbed out like a long spear. Pfft! The soft whip pierced into the neck of one of the nether dragon beasts, killing it. As expected, it's the neck. Yu Linglong was very excited and launched a frenzied counterattack. At the same time, Lu Ming also launched his attacks. He thrust his spear forward continuously. Although the nether dragon beasts tried their best to dodge, they could not do so and were killed by Lu Ming one by one. On the other side, Yu Linglong had also killed the last two nether dragon beasts. And NBSP, the two of them then dug out a few beast cores from the nether dragon's chest. There were a total of 6 beast cores, 3 for each person. This kind of beast core could be used to refine divine pills. It was very useful and could even help true gods and celestial gods. Otherwise, it would not have been so expensive. Lu Ming was overjoyed. One beast core was equivalent to 100 points, which was equivalent to 1,000,000 divine crystals. Let's go, continue. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with Pa-S Shaun. He flew forward with Yu Linglong. Roar! Roar! They hadn't flown very far when they heard a series of roars coming from ahead. There were at least a dozen nether dragon beasts leaping through the mountains and running toward them. We didn't go looking for you, but you delivered yourself to our door. You've come at the right time. Lu Ming laughed and charged at the nether dragon beasts. The nether dragon beast was powerful and its strength was shocking. However, since it knew its weakness, it was not too difficult for Lu Ming to deal with it given his combat strength. Lu Ming and Yu Linglong joined forces and killed more than 10 nether dragon beasts before long. Each of them obtained 7 pieces. In addition to the 3 pieces from before, he had a total of 10 pieces. If he exchanged them for points, he would have 1,000 points. 1,000 points could be exchanged for a slightly inferior king-grade wondrous technique. The speed at which he was earning points made Lu Ming feel extremely carefree. Of course, they were only able to achieve this speed because they were powerful cultivators who had killed the nether dragon. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to achieve this speed. Even if a normal 9th level ethereal god realm outer sect disciple knew the nether dragon beast's weakness, they would need many people to kill it. If he were to encounter more than 10 nether dragons at once, he would not be able to deal with them at all and could only escape. Chapter 2695 Little Overlord, Mad Dao. In just a short while, he had obtained 1,000 nether dragon beast core. This made Lu Ming very excited. He was about to continue forward with Yu Linglong to kill more nether dragons. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful pressure descended from the sky. It was filled with a domineering aura. Then, a few young men slowly descended from the sky. Huang Qingan. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. There were 3 young men in total. One of them was Huang Qingan, who was ranked 98th on the virtual god ranking back then. Of course, after Lu Ming defeated 3 people in a row and the 51st ranked Scorpion Tiger, Huang Qingan's ranking had dropped by 1 to 99. Lu Ming was not concerned about Huang Qingan but the other 2, especially the youth in black armor. This black-armored young man had a strong and tall figure. His entire body was covered in black armor, even his palms were covered by the black armor. Only his head was exposed, and he was filled with an overbearing aura. Guangdao, it's the little tyrant Guangdao. Yu Linglong exclaimed in surprise when she saw the youth in black armor. It's him. Lu Ming's heart was moved. During this period of time, he had gained some understanding of some of the people who were ranked at the top of the virtual god list. The little tyrant said madly. He was ranked 5th on the virtual god ranking list. This was an extremely terrifying figure. In the entire outer sect, the number of outer sect disciples who could suppress him could be counted on one hand. The top 10 on the virtual god ranking list all had shocking battle records and had defeated true god-level existences before. This was terrifying. The Scorpion Tiger had only once escaped from the hands of a true god realm expert. It was completely different from being defeated. The difference was huge. It was said that the top 3 on the virtual god ranking list had the power to kill true god realm experts. He was even more amazing. The little tyrant said madly. Although he didn't have the strength to kill true god stage experts, he had defeated true god stage experts many times, so his battle strength was beyond doubt. You're Lu Ming, the one who killed many of my junior brothers from the Transient Light sect? Guangdao's eyes were like those of a ferocious beast. He stared at Lu Ming with cold killing intent. If people don't provoke me, I won't provoke them. If people provoke me, I'll kill them all, no matter who they are. Lu Ming responded indifferently. Hee, is that so? Kill them all? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Guangdao's face turned even colder. The aura on his body exploded in a violent pressure, like a mountain, pressed down on Lu Ming. Buzz. Buzz. Huang Qingan and the other young man's figures flickered. They formed a triangular formation and surrounded Lu Ming and Yu Linglong in the middle to prevent them from escaping. Lu Ming, you fought so many people in a row in the life and death arena. I wasn't there at that time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have allowed you to be so arrogant. Another blue-robed youth said. This person was called Lan Shang and she was also an expert on the virtual god rank. She was ranked 33rd on the virtual god rank. You talk too much. Don't you know that villains usually die because they talk too much? Lu Ming cast a cold glance at Lan Shang. You're looking for death. Senior brother Guangdao, leave this brat to me. Lan Shang's eyes were cold as a saber appeared in her hand. It was a pity that they did not know that Lu Ming had already defeated Lu Yang and Fang Ya. Although Lu Yang and Fang Ya's ranking on the virtual god ranking list was slightly lower than Lan Chang's, their combined strength was definitely above Lan Chang's. If he knew, he would not be so confident. 10 heavenly blades, die. Lan Shang shouted coldly. Her saber chi soared into the sky, and a ray of blue saber light, crystal clear but full of terrifying power, slashed at Lu Ming. Buzz. Lu Ming's long spear shook and he pulled it out. Boom. 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 As the long spear lashed out, a violent explosion resounded in the heavens and earth. Then, the long spear struck Lan Shang's saber radiance. Break. Lan Shang began to roar and wanted to break Lu Ming's spear radiance. However, the next moment, her eyes widened and she let out a shrill scream. Not only did he fail to break Lu Ming's spear radiance, but his own saber radiance was also shattered. The long spear struck Lan Shang's body with irresistible force. The blue-shirt man cried out in pain. His body flew out like a cannonball, leaving a long trail of air behind him before he crashed into a mountain peak. The mountain peak crumbled, and Lan Shang's body was lying among a pile of rocks. Her body twitched non-stop, and she was already half dead. What? Huang Qingan's eyes widened. He was almost scared to death. His body instinctively retreated. Even the eyes of the little tyrant narrowed as he spoke madly. Clearly, Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded his expectations. Although Lan Shang's combat strength was far inferior to his, she was already one of the top powerhouses among virtual god-level powerhouses. Now, she was actually half dead from Lu Ming's spear. So you have some strength. No wonder you're so arrogant. However, this bit of strength is still not enough in my hands. Guangdao spoke and his Shen power exploded. His tall figure seemed even more powerful. Boom! Guangdao stepped forward. His body was like a mountain, pressing down on Lu Ming. Let me see how strong you are, tyrannical divine fist. Guangdao roared. The black armor on his body burst out with a dazzling black light and he threw a punch at Lu Ming. His fist was wrapped in black armor. He threw a punch that was as heavy as a mountain at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He circulated his divine power with all his might. For divine flames burned fiercely in his dantian. His divine power gushed out and poured into the long spear. Then, he shot out the spear. Boom! It was as if 2 meteors had exploded, and the sky rumbled as terrifying shockwaves spread out in all directions. Buzz! A figure retreated several dozen miles and stood in the void, breathing heavily. This figure was Guangdao. What? How is that possible? Huang Qingan's heart trembled in fear. Lu Ming's combat strength was simply shocking. Even Guangdao, who was ranked 5th on the virtual god ranking list, was forced to retreat by Lu Ming's attack. Kid, not bad. Your strength is not bad. Then take another move from me. Tyrannical divine fist rules the world. Guangdao let out a long howl and the aura on his body became even more terrifying. Then, he threw a punch. A fist force, like a meteorite, rumbled towards Lu Ming. The terrifying force of the fist kept pressing down on Lu Ming from a long distance. Divine skill, peak stage 2. At a glance, Lu Ming could tell the level of mastery of the madman's divine skill. Huang Dao's divine power was definitely at the top of the king grade divine power and was very close to the divine grade divine power. His divine skill had been cultivated to the peak of the second stage. Together with his black armor, the power was shocking. With this punch, even someone like Lan Shang would be killed. The first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, sky-breaking. Lu Ming used the first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes. Although the 3 apocalyptic strikes was only at the peak of the first stage, the power of the 3 apocalyptic strikes was already extremely strong. With the addition of the battle character formula, the explosive power was not weak at all. Buzz! A shooting star-like spear light burst out and collided with Huang Dao's fist force. Boom! 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 An even more terrifying explosion was heard, and the violent force swept in all directions. Not good. Huang Qinggan's expression changed drastically as he retreated. Otherwise, he would have been injured by the scattered chi. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.